It was 5 years ago, November of 2017, coming up in 5 years ago, that I released the first video of this concept of ABCDs. And it was a little kind of mental list that I'd come up with in order to help me as I was making a quick choice in front of a shelf of whiskey, or if I was browsing online or whatever. And I would try and use it to help discover the target market, who that whiskey was potentially intended for. A for age statement, B for bottling strength, C for chill filtration, and D for dye. Is it coloured? And using that little 4 tick boxes really helped me to determine purchases at the time. A lot of you guys have had a lot of success with it as well. But I want to ask tonight, and I want to apply it to a few bottles tonight, some of which will be uncorked. Is it still valid? I think it is. Spoilers. But there have been changes. And in the space of just 5 years, remarkable changes. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And I look forward to hanging out with you in a wee minute. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to the vPub. Just catching me putting a wee bit of water in my dram that I poured for getting started tonight. It's not going to be one of the things that uncork. I'm actually having this tonight, and I'm going to raise a glass to say thank you to the gentleman and friend of mine that bought me this. This is an Adelphi. This is actually a Teaninich. 11-year-old Adelphi, cask strength 58.8%. I took a sip just before we went live there, and it was wow, it was powerful whiskey. But the reason I'm sipping this tonight to get ready for the vPub tonight is that I'm really excited about this weekend. This weekend we're heading over to the Limburg Festival, Whisky Festival, or Whisky Fair in Germany. Doc's going to be there along with a bunch of other Barflies. It's not going to be the big event. It was originally planned to be back in 2020, where we'd kind of rolled it into my kind of 50th birthday celebrations and all of that. But at the time I said it wasn't cancelled, it was just pushed out. Little did we know that it would be pushed out a full 2 years, but it's happening this weekend. I'm going to be there. I arrive on Saturday. I'll be at the show on Saturday and Sunday, and you'll recognise a lot of the faces in the Barflies that's going to be around. I'm really excited about this event. It looks like a fantastic thing to be involved in. It's going to be my first time at Limburg. I really can't wait to go over there. And I hope that if you're there and you spot us, if you see me, please come up and say hello. It'd be nice to meet you. That's what this is all about now that these restrictions are starting to be not entirely lifted, but make things like that possible again. Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome to the vPub. It's fantastic to see you all. Cheers. I'll go on with the topic a wee bit. Why I think it's valid to bring up this ABCD thing again. Why I think it's important to apply it to the whiskies that we're seeing today, the contemporary whiskies that are quite a bit different. It's amazing how different they were from a few years ago. I'm just putting my fan on. It's a wee bit warm in the room. I hope you can't hear that. I was surprised how much it had changed. And as we go through the ABCDs tonight and go through some really quite nice bottles I've been saving up over the last few weeks, over the last 6 or so weeks. Some of them are very recent, but some of them have been here for a wee while, for a nice kind of topic to kind of not just open them for the sake of it, but open it and talk about it at the same time. So I'll let you know the results of the poll that I put out on Patreon earlier, which is going to decide what we're opening tonight. But in the meantime, I'm going to jump in to the lounge. BMO is already at it. ABCD NFT. Superb, BMO. Yes, very content. We won't be talking about non-fungible tokens tonight. We will not be giving that nonsense any airtime whatsoever. It's clearly not pointed at me. It's not pointed at many of us, honestly speaking. But let's jump into the lounge and grab some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated Barflies. I hope you're all doing very well. Oh, somebody's bought me a wee dram already. That's fantastic to see. I want to grab some of this orange. James de Gulu has bought me a dram. He said, welcome back, Roy. A for Aquavite, B for Barfly, C for Candid, and D for devoted. I like it, James. Thank you very, very much. Of course, we need to say a big thanks to Shayla. I took a wee week's holiday last week and we gave the vPub over to Shayla, and she did a pop-up vPub from Mexico, and she's always fantastic, always full of energy and good ideas as well. And I was listening to her in the background throughout just working on things through the week. I've still to finish and see how she gets on with the rest of her flight. She was doing a waxy flight, but I did participate in her quiz at the end. Well done, Shayla. You're fantastic, and it's nice to have you about. Thank you. Cheers. I hope you're in tonight. Well, she is. She is in tonight. Planning an imminent move to Europe. Thank you very much for your virtual dram, James. Thank you, my friend. It's good to welcome you in. Who do we have tonight? We have time for a dram. Gregor. Question to the vPub: which is the most important of the ABCDs for you in purchasing? I'd argue B. He's arguing for bottling strength. We're going to get to that, Gregor, and I think it's pretty important to me too. Blair Stevenson is in saying good evening. All good to see you, Blair. Lassie Hort Oatsman is here saying good evening. Good to see you, Lassie. Jed Smith, fantastic. Jed. Alistair Gray, Pete Head, fantastic. Malt Brother Ray. Jimmy Legg over in Nova Scotia, of course. Loved hanging out with you in the dock a couple of weeks ago. That was a fantastic vPub, Jimmy, and it's good to welcome you back in again tonight, my friend. Bruno Martins is here from Portugal. Helen is here. Helen, I didn't expect to see you in tonight. I know that you and Andy have been poorly this week. I hope this means that you're coming out of it and you're feeling a lot better. Good to see you in. Captain Bamis is in. Fantastic. Good to see you, Evening Roy. Can't stick around. Have to catch it on the replay. You did send me a wee message to tell me exactly that. But you mentioned that you were picking it up on the replay. It's I'm very grateful for everybody that picks it up on the replay. Sorry, thank you so much. Just wanted to say hi to you and a Barflies slancher to you, Captain Bamis. Nice of you to drop by. Danny Hebbington is here. Good evening, Mr. Duff. Good evening, Danny. Whiskey with Molly Ben is here. Jerry Miller is here. Good to see you, Jerry. Good to see you, Ben. Multi-mission. That was a brutal quiz 2 weeks ago, Menno. I'm still smarting from it. I hope that tonight, it was a rushed quiz today. I had a very busy day today. Put it together in a hurry, but I think it's going to be okay. And it's certainly not going to be as brutal as Menno's history of whiskey quiz a couple of weeks ago. Menno, I still very much enjoy when you step in to host them, even when they're brutal like that. And you're always welcome back again, my friend. I hope you haven't taken too much background flack for it. Don McCausland is here using his dram face emoji as well. Good to see you, Don. Good to see you back. Hope it was a good break. It was an excellent break. We loved it. We were down in the Gower Peninsula in South Wales. And it's a beautiful part of the country. Really fantastic. Alistair Gray saying, evening, Roy and the Barflies. Good to see you, Alistair. Gerben Blocker is here. It looks like we'll get to meet at the weekend, won't it, Gerben? I hope that happens for us. Whiskey Weekend Dram Harrow is here shouting Kilkerran. Falsgraf is saying, going to be there. See you, hopefully. Fantastic, Falsgraf. I can't wait for that to happen. There's going to be an opportunity for me to meet quite a few Barflies on the continent that I haven't met yet. Whiskey Games, Matt Bishop is in. Whiskey Central, Sheila. I did mention Sheila. Gordon Fraser is here, Gordon, and thank you very much for your recent support on Patreon, my friend. It's wonderful to have you here and on Patreon too. Jimmy Jazz is here too. Good to see you, Jimmy. Good evening, Aquaviti. Thinking of any new letters for our thought process. There is going to be a discussion about that. You know, there are things that have happened that have kind of bobbed to the surface in the last 5 years. That there is an argument for it, additional letters to be added. But we'll talk it out tonight. We'll get to that. Anthony Lambert is saying, no Swift, guten Abend and good, yeah, okay, looks like a wee bit of Welsh there. A good evening in German and good evening from this Welshman in Whiskey Deutschland. Fantastic. So a Welshman in Germany, superb. Anthony, I wonder if you're going to be in Limburg this weekend. JG is here. Good to see you, Scott Allen. Fantastic, Scott. I hope you're doing very well. Say hello to Becky for me. I hope she's doing well too. Tommy, that looks like a new name. Tommy T. Howdy, Aquaviti. Tommy, is that a new name? If it is, very welcome. And thank you for participating and supporting in the Aquaviti Barflies too. Neil Sen Gupta is also here. And Doc is here as well. It looks like my moderators tonight are Helen and Andy, Sheila Whiskey Central, Time for a Dram Gregor, and Doc McAllen Fine and Rare. I also see Alistair Gray is in as well. So we're well represented with our regular moderators as well. Haven't noticed any spam or nonsense in the chat recently. It's been good. And my friend from California has just dropped in, Bill Dull. Good to see you, Whiskey Disciple. Long time not to be able to watch you live, sitting on a plane, flying back to San Diego. You've got to love in-flight Wi-Fi. Bill, fantastic. I'm glad that you've been able to grab the vPub and the timing works out for you to hang out with us, from 35,000 feet. Cheers, my friend. I hope that you and I get a chance to hang out over a glass this year too. Cheers, Bill. Whiskey Games is saying, I think the added colour is the worst thing for me. After all that time and money and dedication spent on maturation, just to add a colour. I'm not going to disagree with you, Matt. We are going to play a wee game of Visit Speyside a bit later on. We've got 2 guests in tonight, first timers. It's going to be good fun. And then, of course, hopefully they'll be able to stay to join for the quiz at the end. But in between now and then, we're going to chop up this thing. We're going to talk about this little mnemonic device that I came up with to remind me who the whiskey was pointed for. I've kind of got a gut feel now. I don't rely on it as much as I did back then. You know, that kind of gut feel that comes with experience. And what's actually changed now is that I'm not kind of just browsing. I tend to have very targeted purchases or things that I actually want to buy for a very specific reason, because it's new and I'm very interested, because it plugs a gap in the collection, because it covers a topic that I want to talk about with you guys. There's lots of reasons that I'll maybe search out a specific bottle. So I'm far less likely to just kind of casually turn up browsing somewhere. But it's not always about that, is it? Sometimes it can be in a tasting or an event somewhere and you want to quickly assess what the bottle's about. It could be that somebody's gifted you something. You want to get an idea about it. It could be something new to you or whatever. And this ABCD thing works very well. It's not going to tell you if it's a good whiskey. It's certainly not going to tell you if you're going to like it or not. What it will do is it will help you decide potentially who this whiskey is pointed at. Let's be honest, you know, the people buying whiskey is the bandwidth of people is very, very wide. And if you want to be blunt about it, at one extreme, there's us, the whiskey geeks. We're a very thin sliver of the bandwidth, but we're out there on the bleeding edge of it. And we're after very specific things. And the more we continue along an impassioned whiskey journey, the more we dial that in and we work out what our preferences are and what we're going to chase down. And at the other end of the extreme, you've got somebody that's just coming into whiskey, somebody that's a very casual whiskey drinker. They enjoy the taste, they enjoy a drink of whiskey, but they don't really spend a lot of time reading about it, watching stuff on YouTube or, you know, researching it. It's just a drink to them. Every single person on that bandwidth that I've talked about has a valid reason to be there. It's absolutely fine. However, there are whiskies that are out there to satisfy the needs of every single person on that bandwidth. And that means that sometimes they can be let down. Somebody's first ever purchase of whiskey is this because it's a gorgeous colour. It's 58.8% ABV, and it's a tasty whiskey too. It's a good whiskey. But at 58.8%, they're going to take a sip of it and they're just going to get alcohol burn. This is not pointed to them. This is pointed to somebody that's a wee bit more experienced in whiskey, or at least knows to add a wee bit of water, to pour it and leave it for a while. That it's not just about a quick drink. And at the other end of the spectrum, there are whiskies out there that's not going to engage a whiskey geek. It's not going to keep the interest of somebody that's after a bit more engagement, a bit more grip, a bit more strength, a bit more layered flavour, a bit more intensity, a bit more detail, a bit more complexity, whatever it is that they're after. This isn't going to do it. Or sorry, this is going to do it, but a 40% ABV whiskey is not likely to do that for them. Now, let's not fall into the trap of being snobby about this. You know, we have to remember there's a place, even for an experienced whiskey enthusiast, for lower ABV whiskies. If you go back in time, especially if you're drinking things from the past, chances are they're going to be lower ABV more often than not. It's the way it always was. 40% was considered powerful enough. But over time, we realised that ABV is a very important delivery mechanism for flavour, for texture, for grip, for mouthfeel, for lots of things, and preserving integrity and intensity in the bottle. It's not meant to be a silver bullet. It's meant to be an assistance. It's meant to be a guide. I wonder how many of you have found any value in that kind of ABCD thing, whether you do the ABCD thing or whether you've got your own device or mechanism. You probably do it. Let's jump into the chat quickly. I've got 2 chats going, which should work tonight. Tommy T is saying, I've been watching since September 21. Joined the Barflies a couple of months ago. Always look forward to the vPub and the chats. Tommy, that's fantastic. It's very nice to have you here. And it's wonderful to welcome you into the chat and the Barflies. Thank you. Jimmy Leg is saying, first timers, nice. Aye, is it a Speyside first timers? I have to say, I did enjoy Is It a Speyside 2 weeks ago too. That was exceptional. I loved it. Per Sebastian is here. Good to see you again, Per Sebastian. He sent, hi, Roy, and hello, Barflies. It's been a while since I've caught the vPub live. You never need to catch it. Listen, the vPub is designed to fit around where you are, your mood, your moment. Drop in, pick it up when you can, pick it up live when you can. It doesn't matter. I appreciate people here live and I appreciate people that pick it up in the replay too. Sheila is saying, thanks for the kind words. I hope you're able to catch the reveal of the Waxy live stream. Always an honour to host. I think you did send me a wee message with a timestamp on it, Sheila. So I will pick it up. I will watch it. I've got a busy day tomorrow as well, so I'll maybe let it play in the background. Let me see. It was Multi-Mission saying small group, yes. Big spenders also, yes. That's absolutely true, Menno. I'm going to talk about when we talk about premium whiskies and things. You know, the price. It's not just that we're a small group. It's not just that we're willing to spend a lot more on a bottle. It's how promiscuous we are. We're not buying a bottle, drinking it, finishing it, and then replacing it with the same brand of the same kind for the same flavor, the same experience. We're all over the flavor map. We're trying batch after batch. We're trying different distilleries, different region. It's variation, it's variety. It's a very, very different thing for us. And you've hit the nail on the head there, Menno, absolutely. A wee drams come in from Warner, you star in the States. The one glassman has said, in the spirit of ABCD, I opened a flaming heart to enjoy the vPub today. Planning a visit to Scotland with Junior in June. Fantastic, Warner. You'll be back again. I'll send details. Looking forward to see you then. So if you're a patron supporter of mine, if you're somebody that's been connected with the channel for a long time and things like that, and if you are planning to be close by the Central Belt and visiting, you can send me a wee message. I can't promise that I can meet up. But I do try my very, very best because that's kind of what whiskey's all about, right? So I do try to hook up with folk when I can. Whiskey Mystery is here too, and they, Phil and Deepa, are actually in Scotland, and it would be wonderful, hopefully next week, if we can hook up together before they disappear back home, right? George Ellis saying, ABCD is great for narrowing an entire shelf of malt in a store down to 1 or 2 bottles. Good. And Bill is saying, I use ABCD religiously, and it's one of the first lessons I pass on to anyone I'm sharing with. Yeah, that's interesting. It is interesting because I'm going to start to caveat things and contextualize things from 2017 when I first came up with it versus to what we face today. Falsgraph is saying, I do at times browse online at shops where possible. Just click without colour and unchill filtered, and that does narrow things down. That's very helpful if the online store that you're doing gives you those options, but it's not always the case. I am hearing another fan in the room. I think it's my computer. I hope it's not going to give me any issues tonight. Lucas is saying, Aquavita, I'm on a whiskey that just brings the A to the table. Oban 14, still enjoying it. I think that's crucial, Lucas. I've got a bunch of whiskies over here that either only meet 1 or they don't. It's not a rule for buying. So many of the whiskies, I think of Lagavulin 16, very similar to your Oban 14, it only meets the age statement because the bottling strength is only 43%, and that goes hand in hand with that C for chill filtration. That means that it's been forcibly chill filtered. It's had a lot of the fats and oils stripped out of it, aggressively stripped out of it, which means that, and it also means that probably when you're at that level of cosmetic whiskey, let's say, chances are it's going to be coloured. And Oban 14 and Lagavulin 16 both rely on added colour for consistency. You can still enjoy that whiskey. It's still delicious whiskey. Oban 14 is a favourite of mine, and in fact, it's almost always here on the shelf. It doesn't mean you don't buy it, but it does mean you know whether it's mass market product or whether it's maybe a wee bit more natural or craft or whatever descriptor you want to use. Let's have a wee look at the poll that I put out. Let's bring this up. I put this poll out to patrons, but I made it public. You didn't have to be a patron of mine to vote in this poll. You could have just gone into the site. I think maybe you needed to have a patron account. So if you're following somebody else or giving somebody else Patreon support, you would have been able to see it. Regardless, I kept it public in order to make it as inclusive as possible. But YouTube only allows 5 options in their poll. Patreon, I don't think it's unlimited, but they offer a lot more. So that's why I hosted it, because I had 7 options for this poll tonight. Let's do a wee screen share here. Let's bring this up, because I had 7 bottles. You'll also have seen this if you follow me on Instagram. I shared the picture on Instagram as well. Share screen, share a window. Here we go. Hopefully you can all see this. You might not be able to read it too clearly, but I'll do my best to help you. These are the 7 bottles that I've suggested. I'm going to open these tonight, but I'm only going to open the ones that you are most interested in seeing. The reason for that is, remember, a couple of weeks ago, we did the open bottle syndrome vPub. It's very much a thing here. I don't mind sitting down with you and opening 7 bottles, uncorking 7 bottles. But not only am I mindful of the open bottle syndrome thing, I'm also mindful of the health thing that we covered at the start of the year as well. So I've got 4 glasses out here in front of me, coupled with this opening dram. That means that I'll have 5 drams tonight. So again, just being a wee bit careful, especially when we've got busy days the next day. But I'll read these out to you. In fact, I'll hold them up as I read them out to you. The first one on the list was distillery labels from Gordon and MacPhail. This is their Glentauchers. This is a 2007 distillery labels. I'm just going to hold it and hope that it focuses for you, but it's having a hard time, isn't it? There you go. Is that it? Brought it into focus now. Quite a handsome bottle, I have to say. There's been a lot of rebrandings in recent years, and I think Gordon and MacPhail's rebranding was much needed, and I think it is much better. And they've still managed to weave in that kind of traditional feel that a lot of their distillery label series had. So that's on the go, and that had 46 votes. Next on the list, there's an inevitability about this one here. The 2 from Campbelltown. These are the 2 Glengyle releases, the Kilkerran 8-year-olds from 2022. These quickly evaporated from shelves everywhere. They sold out everywhere. I was very fortunate with both of these. I got one of these through Doc, the sherry cask, and I got the other one, the port cask one, through James Hope. So I did go out to try and pick up I did manage to get the Springbank 10, and I managed to get Campbelltown Loch, and I was quite happy with that. To get these 2 from the community as well is a big, big boost. Very grateful to have them, and they're always going to be opened. I haven't even looked to see what these are doing at auction now, but I can't imagine they're that high. They'll probably break 100 quid or so, I think. But these are coming to market. 8-year-old cast strength whiskies, round about 50, 55 pounds, I think was the retail price for them. 60 pounds maybe. I also have this one that I showed you before, and you might remember that I showed you with the blacklight. You shine a blacklight on this, and it'll give you some more details. This April Fool bottling from the Whisky Exchange. But this year is actually, so they dressed it up to look like something that would be mature and old, but actually when you put the blacklight on it, it doesn't say anything. We made you feel like this was extremely old, but actually it's very young whiskey. Interestingly, I believe it to be Ardnamurchan, and if you shine the blacklight on it, it tells you that that's the case. Harrow's saying, glad you got them, Aquaviti. Yeah, the Kilkerrans, absolutely, they were tricky. I've also got this very interesting bottle as well. Now, I was going to do a wee bit of research to remind myself what the makeup of this was, but I think it's all ex-bourbon. This is a Ukrainian release. This is to raise funds for the Ukraine humanitarian appeal. From Wolfburn. Now, recently, Wolfburn has dropped heavily back on my radar again, because I'm surprised how good their whiskey is getting. It's getting better and better all the time, which makes sense, because their stocks are becoming deeper. They're a mature distillery now. In fact, I think next year or the year after, theoretically, 2023, 2024, I think would make them a 10-year-old distillery in terms of having spirit flowing. They're going to be one of the ones that can bring out potentially a 10-year-old product. I think that's super interesting to see. So that's on the cards for being opening. I think the one that I'm going to show up now is by far the most popular. You can see, I've got this on small screen. I do apologize. Such an amateur. But I'll show you this one on big screen. Let it focus. This is Ardnamurchan's release. Sorry, not Ardnamurchan. This is Ardnamurchan's cask strength. I wasn't sure I was going to get a hold of this. I didn't try hard to get a hold of it. I didn't call in any favours. I never ever do. But Scott Monroe Kilted Moose sent a message to say it's available at Good Spirits Company. I went on straight away, managed to get one at Good Spirits Company while I was down south on holiday, and dropped into Good Spirits Company just today to pick this up. Very grateful to have it. I think it was £60, 60, £65 maybe. Something of that order. I just bought it today. You'd think I'd remember. But you might remember Dramface was launched with an exclusive that this was coming along. And you can see on here it's AD0222. So I think that suggests February 22 cast strength release. But it's only just now in April that it's been made available. I think they had some issues with packaging or labels. And the last whiskey on our list and I'll bring this up again with 38 votes. I think it's got some interest about it, but not as much as I expected. It's from this Highlander that's in transition right now. This is another warehouse release from Kilkerran. Really excited about these recently. I didn't get a chance to spend any time with the batch 1. But I did buy a bottle of batch 2, the one with rye casks in it, and I loved it. Thought it was potentially the best Kilkerran I have owned. In fact, I'm just going to go out and say it is the best Kilkerran I have owned. Now, a lot of you might argue that that's not difficult, but Kilkerran are changing because all of the releases recently have a very different vibe and feel to them. The bottles might look the same, the packaging might look the same, but the specification, the way it's labeled, the way it's communicating what it is on the bottle label is very different. Exactly what we're talking about tonight. This one has mostly bourbon casks, but also has some rum and wine casks involved. This is younger than the previous 2 releases. This is distilled in 2015, but we'll get on to all that in a wee while. Anyway, let's have a wee look at what the votes were so we know what we're uncorking tonight. Clearly, we have to start with the one with the most votes. I can't remember how many votes I had. I think it was 329 votes in total. And 79 of those votes went to the Ardnamurchan cast strength. And you can see in second and third place, both Kilkerrans. And a lot of people are asking for a comparison there. And it was always going to be in my mind. If one of those came through to be opened, I would open the other one as well. And depending on how we're getting on, we might end up opening either that Kilkerran or the Gordon and MacPhail. Actually, the Glentauchers is the one that you guys are most interested in. So that's what we're opening tonight. So I'll put my wee Teaninich aside and I'll get on with opening this. Now we have to apply our ABCDs to it first, don't we? Danny is saying, I'm drinking the Kilkerran tonight and it's very good in my opinion. So I know that a lot of you have been messaging to say that you've managed to get your hands on the Kilkerran already. So I think I'm genuinely keen to try. I'm also keen to try the Wolfburn too, but there's no way I'm going to end up opening 6 or 7 tonight. There'll be other reasons to open what I don't get around to tonight. Gon Fraser is saying, looking forward to your thoughts on Ardnamurchan. Bought this at source and absolutely love it. No spoilers there. I haven't seen any reviews for this yet. I haven't heard any feedback other than just 1 or 2 people. I just haven't discussed it yet. It's one of those ones, you know, we all have bizarrely connected with Ardnamurchan, and it's difficult to understand why that is. I think it's down to a few reasons. I think it's down to the fact that the whiskey is good. It's quite unique. It's very bold and intense at times. Mineralic. I think it's wonderful to have a Western Highland style back again. It's wonderful to have the vibe and the atmosphere. Everything that's happening there in Ardnamurchan is better than we could have reasonably expected. But I think it's also because the pricing is sane and grounded. £45 for the standard release. This one's come out at £60, as I mentioned there or thereabouts. To have a cast strength version of it, I think it just makes perfect sense, and I'm very excited about it. So let's apply our ABCDs to this. A for age statement. No age statement on this whatsoever. So it doesn't get a point. B for bottling strength. It's cast strength. So it's above It's 46% or above is for a point. So it gets that. C, chill filtration. We know it's Ardnamurchan. They don't chill filter anything, so they get a point. And D for dye. There's no dye added to this. This is fully natural colour and gorgeous. It is 2. 3 out of 4 isn't bad, but this is Ardnamurchan. Scan this little QR code if you like. I did it just as I was going live there. And it'll take you into as much information as you kind of want to geek out about. It's quite incredible, to be honest. But you can go through a whole list where they'll talk about the barley, they'll talk about mash, they'll talk about fermentation, distillation. There's a section for everything. And when you finally get to maturation, you're then given the option to go along and inspect some cask data. What that will do is then give you access to a PDF. This isn't going to focus, I do apologize, but it's a PDF you can peruse at your leisure after you've purchased a bottle, of course, and it will tell you every single cask in the vatting. And most importantly, it'll tell you its vintage. So it tells you lots of things, like what kind of cask, whether it's sherry cask or bourbon. And I can see that this is a mix of ex-bourbon and sherry casks. It's got a code for the cask type as well as a description. It tells me that there's unpeated and peated spirit in here as well. To me, that looks like a ratio of about 20% unpeated, 80% peated, it looks like to me. It's got the vintage of every cask, as I mentioned, 2014 and 2015. So we know this to be, we're looking at a 7 or 8 year old, potentially an 8-year-old product. And it's got every single cask number listed as well. This ticks every box, is my point. Because the ABCDs, it's not meant there for everybody. It's on the bottom. It's for the whiskey geeks, I suppose. It's for the people who are discerning, the people who are wanting to be careful about what they spend the money on. So they will know when it's a vintage, for example. And they will know when things are done where they don't want to kind of put an age statement on there when the story is actually much richer and more deep than that. In this case, they've put a QR code on it, which I think is very, very cool, and long may it last. Anyway, less of the chat, Roy. Let's just get this thing uncorked. And Jimmy's saying, if you put Kilkerran as an option, I think he's always going to suggest that that would be his choice every time. Whiskey with Molly saying, I bumped into Whiskey Mystery Phil and Deepa when picking up Ardnamurchan strength in the good spirits quite earlier in the week. A pleasant bonus. That's fantastic. Superb. Whiskey Games Matt Bishop is saying the Wolfburn is a quiet dram, so probably best to try on its own away from other more characterful whiskies. That's interesting. That suggests it's probably ex-bourbon or, refill bourbon. Jimmy said, no, we haven't, Aquavitae. Never seen an Ardnamurchan ever. It's unfortunate for Jimmy. Unfortunately, he's out there in Eastern Canada, and I know his selection is limited by quite a draconian system. Connor Smith is saying, just poured the Kilkerran so far. So good. Ooh, okay, good. Well, let's see if we get a pop. We do indeed get a pop from the Ardna. One of life's little pleasures, isn't it? The pop and glug. What have I missed? Dave Swift is suggesting E, ABCDE, E for electronic data. Well, Ardnamurchan's a great way to talk about E. I'm going to suggest to you, and I'm not the first to do it because I think it's the guest who's on tonight actually can be credited. Nick Stilton Massey mentioned E should be an environmental consideration. If he'd have said that in 2017, I think we'd have looked at him with swivel eyes, right? But he's absolutely spot on, and he should have been taken seriously back in 2017. But it's only in very, very recent times, as there's more and more pressure put on companies everywhere, that the whiskey industry is stepping up. But I think they need to be very, very careful, because there's a huge, huge, huge backlash against speaking like you're stepping up when you're just using semantics, whether you want to call it greenwashing or whatever it is. You describe all the positive sides of your business and just quietly ignore the things that are negative without taking any real active steps. All of that cannot be pointed at Ardnamurchan. They started out to be fully sustainable, and they remain committed to sustainability. Let's talk about the packaging. Now, if you buy a standard Ardnamurchan in a box, you'll get it in recycled packaging. It's pretty flimsy packaging, to be honest, but it's enough. It's a nice box. I don't keep it, I throw it away, but it's almost pulp. I know that it's not a big deal. This cask strength, let me show you the packaging that Ardnamurchan came in. Now, this is nice tissue. It's very nice tissue. This is Ardnamurchan tissue. So it's obviously supplied to the retailers. That's what the packaging that this bottle came in. Now, I know it's not the same for everyone. I know that some of you like to have a nice box, and a luxurious box is a nice touch. There's a lot of ceremony involved in the box, and yet, for me, I don't care. I do not care. If the whiskey can be shipped to me in a protected way, or if I can carry it in a protected way, surely that's enough. I like to see the liquid. I like to see the colour. I like to see the bottle. As soon as the whiskey's put on the shelf here, the box is gone, more often than not. Very few boxes I keep. So this, to me, there's no guilt in this packaging whatsoever. You go in any, it's virtually no packaging. It's almost as good as being naked. So ABCDE for environment. We'll go on to a sixth letter, believe me. This is very recognizable as Ardnamurchan. This is peatier than I expected. I don't know what I was expecting, but the peat is a warm peat, an aromatic peat, a soft peat, not medicinal, a grass and earth and a more herbaceous kind of peat. Let's go for that. Not sooty. It's quieter than I expected in terms of alcohol, ABV. This is quite high ABV. This is at 58.7 ABV. Everyone is saying, yeah, most people are not real keen on the virgin sacrifices to the whiskey gods part of the whiskey industry. How else can those marketing people lose their souls? Don McCausland is saying, the box is only worth helping protect the bottles in my airplane luggage. And there's other ways of doing that, right? Wrap a couple of T-shirts around it, a towel, whatever it may be. Yeah, Falscraft is saying, since I understood that protection from light is not that big an issue, I moved away from the boxes too. I think if you're in a place, or your room or your whiskey's in a place that it's getting bright, strong sunlight every day, constantly, all the time, but if you're just getting, rays of sun every now and then, if you're in Scotland, for example, it's almost doesn't matter where you put the whiskey, that's not true. But I don't have much of a concern about that. I also artificially brightly light my whiskey, a bit like what you see over my shoulder here, and I've done that for years, and I never really found an issue. Whiskey Weekend Dram Harrow saying F for fail. Well, the ABCDs will never be a way to judge or score a whiskey. It'll never be that. It'll always be just a mnemonic for you to think about it. So if you're looking at a bottle here and saying, well, have I got something here that does make me feel like there's some environmental responsibility being taken here? And if you pick it up and it's in an over-the-top box and it's got magnetic closures and it's full of foam packaging on the inside or clunky wood and things, you're not only paying a lot of money for that packaging that you're potentially going to get no value out of, but there's a lot of environmental impact involved there. Nick, for example, will give you a discount if you take a naked bottle over a boxed bottle. Other distilleries out there are just making wholesale changes and saying, look, we're just going to ditch the bottles. Brookladdy have done that recently, and famously Springbank with their naked campaign, just ditching bottles. Not on all the releases. Some of the releases are still out there with cardboard, light cardboard. But generally speaking, most of them have moved to naked presentation, and I think that is absolutely fine. Jimmy Legg is saying, did you say grass? I might have said that. A small nod to the Dramface podcast. Multi-Mission is saying F for finances. Nailed it, Menno. Absolutely. F for finance, fiscal, whatever you want to call it. F for finance. How much is this costing me? This is a young whiskey, this Ardnamurchan, okay? We've established potentially 2014 casks, okay. Potentially there could be some up to 8-year-old whiskey, but we're actually holding a 7-year-old whiskey in our hands. £60 is the right price. It's a new distillery. It's pretty small scale, although that's a significant amount. This is a 15,000 bottle batch, I believe, or thereabouts. £60 is not price gouging. They could have released this at 75 and we'd have bought it. The Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength that came out, admittedly, is a significantly older age. But you remember that came out at £75. It's gone. It's disappeared. Ardnamurchan is in such demand that they could have easily charged that, but they didn't. They're in it for the long haul, and they're responsible, and they lead with integrity. And it isn't difficult. It's not difficult. Look at Campbelltown, look at Springbank, look at Mitchell's, look at how they do things with Kilkerran and Springbank, Hazelburn, Longrow. It's the exact same. The price is the price. It's not what the market will stand. It's reflective of the cost of us bringing the whiskey to you at this quality. That surely is just what it should be about. And I know it's not the real world. I know that's not how it actually works. It's not how it works. But it's a choice. And it could be how it works. And we can discover if it works, if that is artificially inflated or no. It's the right price. How do we discover? Because there are integrity companies out there that are willing to put it together at that price. It doesn't take a small-scale distillery like Springbank or Ardnamurchan or Arran. If they put it out there at their price, and if somebody else is putting it out at double the price, that's not costing them twice as much to do it. And if it is, it's because of mismanagement, it's because of over-egged packaging. But actually what it is their pricing is what the market will stand. And that's just business practice the world over. It's how the world works. But I'll tell you how else the world works. We're in 2022 and we have all the information that we want to discover. And if we want to look into something and discover that we're being overcharged, we can step back and say, no. I promised that I would not get into this tonight. And this is a rant for another vPub another time because it's becoming a real bee in my bonnet. 2017, I was caring about natural presentation. 2021, and even more so exacerbated in 2022, I am utterly disgusted at the practices of whiskey companies. Now, it's not only happening in whiskey, it's happening everywhere else, but I only really care, I only function, I'm only involved in whiskey, and I'm passionate about whiskey. We are being brutally treated. Luxury goods placement and the market will stand this price. I mean, I don't want to throw dirt tonight. I don't want to bring up examples. That's for a future vPub. But it's wrong because not everyone is informed like we are. And they just pay the money. They have more money or they have less knowledge. One or the other. It can't continue. There is more whiskey than there has ever been. In terms of depth of stock, there is more variation and choice than there has ever been. And yet this pricing continues. It won't last forever. The Amber Rush combined with the Glass Loch, it's just a recipe for disaster. Now, you and I as drinkers, we can be ambivalent. We're in no danger. We can drink it and enjoy it. And if we can't afford it anymore, we'll find out where the cheap value propositions are, where the undiscovered gems are. That's what we do as a community. And then if everything crashes and the value is a disaster, again, we can relax and we can just enjoy because we are in it for the fact that it makes us feel grateful to be alive, the flavour, the enjoyment that whiskey brings, not how pretty it looks in a polished bottle or box. Did anybody see the recent Distill Your World Macallan? It's just ludicrous. There's virtually no mention of the whiskey whatsoever. And it's just this really long, super professional video it's all about the packaging and digital effects and everything. It's just, oh dear, it's just not whiskey. Anthony Lambert is saying, I have a lot of knowledge, but not enough money. That's a good place to be, as long as you've got enough, Anthony. Jeff Whiskey is saying, I think Aquaviti should be allowed to do a full rant vPub, just so he can really get down and go to town on the brands that need to hear it. Unfortunately, Jeff, it's so complex because some of the brands that are, it doesn't stop you loving the distillery. You've touched the distillery, you've visited the distillery, you know the people that work there, and they're good people, but they're not making the decisions. They're not. So there's a huge amount of responsibility comes with that, being critical and ranting, because when you do that, you do shine a light on every step of the production, and that's not where it should go. It should just be laser focused on the people that's making greedy, stupid, short-term, brutal decisions. I'm on the rant again. Gordon Fraser is saying I'm fancying a wee rant. Anyway, let's have a wee sip of Ardnamurchan, eh? Okay, there's fruit now. It's a wee bit orangey. It's light citrus. Remember, I'm not going to review this. This is a neck pour. I've literally just cracked the bottle. This is very Ardnamurchan. I'm looking for the minerally note. It's easy for me to convince myself that it's there, but I don't think it's forefront. This is a more kind of smouldery, smoky peaty. It's a wee bit herbal, but nice, warm. There's some kind of doughy, cakey, bready. Let's have a wee sip. .58% ABV, doing everything. Everything's alive. Drier than I imagined. The mineral thing is there on the palate. Spiced. This is Ardnamurchan. I think this is so typical of what they do that there's a good chance I could pick this out in a blind lineup, or a semi-blind lineup, let's say. Very drying. Goes the saline on the finish, drying on the finish. Not a lot of fruit yet. Minerally. I know that Alex at Ardnamurchan talks about it being a seashell note. I've always picked up a mineralic note. For me, it was always a kind of pebble stone type thing, but this is definitely like a seashell type note. Not that we go around licking pebbles and stones and crunching seashells, but we get the idea, right? Orange zest, dried orange peel, ginger. Second sip is much softer. But there is a grassy, herbaceous thing. There's a green element here. Smoke on the palate is not anything like when it first went into the glass. It's not peat forward on the palate. It's smoky. Doesn't taste anything like 58.7% ABV either. First sip was super spicy, super communicative. Second sip, much softer and in check. Excellent. £60, cast strength whiskey, and the product is in demand. And with a wee bit of work and a wee bit of help of technology through the QR code, it checks all the ABCD boxes. It certainly checks the E for environment, absolutely. Ardnamurchan are doing great things there for sustainability. And the F, I think it scrapes an F as well. 60 quid, 65 quid, absolute ceiling is the right price for this. It's very good whiskey. It's in demand, yes. 7 or 8 years old. It's pitched well. It's right. Peter is saying, Agvaviti, if we switch the bottle strength to F, 46 plus ABV, we can use the B for blockchain transparency. You know, Frank, I was going through all these different ways of kind of chopping up the ABCDs. How, if I had a bit more foresight, how I could have made it a bit different, you know, C for cost, and there was lots of different ways to do it, but we're kind of stuck with it now. So we just need to evolve what we had. Absolutely. I think I missed a dram from Jimmy. Jimmy's saying, as soon as you realise that you don't need to buy whiskey, you're in a fantastic spot. Then you can just sit back and laugh, let the whiskey come to you. Jimmy, that's a very pragmatic way to think about things, especially for you in Canada, where you don't really get to just go out and pick what's there. I mean, you're given a very curated, specific choice of whiskies to buy. It's worse, it's made very, very difficult for you to ship across state lines or borders in Canada. So it's a wee bit brutal, although look at what happened with us recently with Brexit. It's been made very much more difficult for us. However, I think you're right. Whiskey is about enjoyment. And when we feel that kind of fever, FOMO, the stress, the need or whatever, it's starting to get close to not being so much fun anymore. And I know a lot of people genuinely love the bottle chase. They do. It's part of the thing for them. And fantastic. But I think a bit of pragmatism now and again would do us all a world of good. Jimmy, thank you very much for your dram, my friend. Cheers to you. And your wisdom. Still remarkably dry. Much drier than expected. This is probably even more minerally than the very, very first, the Ardnamurchan inaugural, or first release, which is still my favourite. Aye. This is a good one. Hi, Not Jamie is saying Macallan Harmony Rich Cacao checks the E-box and D. Okay. Yeah, so you're talking about the crazy, the packaging. Yeah, it's beyond luxury. It's actually, it's abuse. It is. That's what it is. Whiskey with Molly saying, oh my, just pop my own Ardnamurchan strength and it doesn't drink at its strength. Beautiful. You're feeling the same thing as me as well. That 58.7% ABV is in check. You don't get that pop, that bang of chilly heat. Matty D, that looks like a new name. Matty, it's very nice to welcome you in. Yeah, it looks like it's the first time I've picked up that name. First of all, whiskey is a new star. First of all, whiskey's in New Zealand, so it's going to be very early in the morning for our Phil. How are you doing, my friend? I hope you're keeping very well. Fantastic. So we've got a very good start with Ardnamurchan. So good choice to the patrons. Let's go on and see what they wanted next. Okay, they wanted the inevitable, and I just have to go and do this. I've got 2 glasses here for a comparison. Yeah, I want to show you all something before I do that. Is that all right? Look what arrived here. I've got a T-shirt here that was shipped to me. It was actually waiting for me when I get back from holiday. And it comes from Robert. Now, I know I would struggle to pronounce his surname, I think, and I'm not sure what his alias is in the chat, but I'll read the letter to you. Roy, hoping you enjoy this token of my appreciation, whether wearing it or using it to wash your car, for all of your inspiration in whiskey evangelism. Our fledgling Whisky Club is doing very well, and we have plans for the coming monthly meetings, including tastings with a local liquor store, barbecue evening, bourbon tasting, and a little bottle share evening. And as said previously, all of this comes from the evangelism. You're an honorary member of the Chasing Malt Whisky Club. And we will look forward to raising a dram with you at some time, Rob. One of the things I didn't expect or plan to happen, but I'm very, very grateful that it has happened, and I'm very happy to support anybody that wants to do this. If you're hanging out with me tonight in the vPub and you're thinking about starting a whiskey club, or if you've just started a whiskey club and you'd like to grow it, especially consider all the whiskey clubs that's evolved out of this very community, this chat. And here's one of them. Look at the T-shirt that Rob sent me. The Chasing Malt Whisky Club. Just fantastic. I believe he's in Connecticut. I looked at the postmark on the package. I think that's where Rob is, where this has come from. So the Chasing Malt Whisky Club has yet another whisky club that's got people together in order to do bottle shares, barbecue nights, tastings, local store, just getting people together, doing what whiskey does best. Making friendships and connections all over the place. It's just superb. If you're thinking of starting anything like that, reach out to me if you think I can help, and I'd be happy to give anybody that's starting or has started a club and looking to increase their membership. And it doesn't matter where you are, because we live in a world where borders, we don't really see them. So I'll be happy to help you wherever you're located. Men was saying Macallan is like a Michael Bay movie. All looks and very spectacular, but it's not what a cinephile would want. I think that's a good analogy. We're able to go along and look at these big, spectacular movies and go, and it's all kind of wow and over the top and things. But sometimes, especially if you were going to go regular to the movies, and if you were going to get really passionate about films and become a cinephile, you wouldn't be looking for that. And I think it's a decent analogy. We have to keep it in mind. There are people out there that are looking for the Michael Bay things. There are people out there that's looking for the Macallan experience. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it does a wee bit. It does a wee bit, honestly, because I think it is bordering on abuse. But it does clearly mean it's not for us, which is what the ABCDs are about. First of all, Whisky is saying, so true, Aquaviti, going live at 9 a.m. always catches me off guard. I keep thinking it's later. Aye, for me, well, almost 9:45 at night for me. It sounds like it's going to be 9 a.m. for you. Lee J saying, hi, Roy. If that's okay, the Whisky Liberation Front has 8 members now and going very well. Cheers. Fantastic. The Whisky Liberation Front, Lee J, I know where he is. He's in Wiltshire in the UK. Lee J, if you are expanding and looking to take on board more members, let me know. It sounds like you are. But I can put anybody in touch directly with Lee J Brown. Here's to the Whisky Liberation Front. A fantastic name as well. Cheers, Lee J. Ian Bose is saying a Whisky Club. It's just started out here in York. 3rd meeting on Saturday. So if you're in York, right in the heart of England, there's a place with Ian and his pals as well. Fantastic. Drew from Arizona. He's saying, speaking of shirts, Aquaviti, your fine shirts arrived yesterday. Thanks, my friend. I'm starting to run out of stock on a few of the items there. I hope I've not disappointed too many of you. I'm kind of running the T-shirts down as low as I possibly can this time. It's going to be a while before more come back in. It's becoming very difficult to manage, so I need to kind of just feel where I am with that. Maybe go to a drop shipping thing. Maybe not. I like writing you all a wee note. I like packaging it myself, so... Anyway, Drew, I'm very glad you got them and I'm glad you like them. And Gordon Fraser is saying maybe E should be for exploitation. Aye, well, yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Conal McKenzie is in. Good to see you, Conal. Conal is one of the Ardnamurchan team. It's fantastic to have him in here. Conal, I almost feel like you're becoming a wee bit of a barfly. It's nice to have you, buddy. And he's saying the only reason we are sending whiskey there. Okay, he's speaking to Jimmy Chaz, who's on the east coast of the US. And Whiskey is a Journey is saying, Whiskey is a Journey? That looks like a new name. He's got a wee picture of a redbreast on his icon there. Maybe you're in Ireland, my friend, and you're spelling whiskey with an E. That could be true. Have you had any luck contacting any distillery with feedback? And if so, how open are they to feedback from the public? I tend not to do that. I tend not to contact a whiskey directly with feedback. I don't know if... A lot of the time, the people that are actually in a position to do anything about the feedback are not the ones hearing the feedback. Yeah. When we did the Oswas last year, Ralph and I, we found it difficult to even find anyone at the big corporations like Diageo, Beam, Suntory, Pernod Ricard that were even willing to just open up a communication link with us. They just... It's not that they don't care, it's just that they're huge, huge corporations, and that's just the truth of it. Danny Hebbington is saying, Aquaviti, that big Macallan boxed artwork with cocktail set was a bit absurd. Just when you think that it can't get any more absurd, I'm not even going to go into... I mean, Macallan are just as guilty with the non-fungible token thing as a... But I honestly thought the Ardbeg NFT thing was an April Fool that just came out a bit late. Surely it can't be real. I want an Aquaviti signet ring with the logo on it. I don't think I'll be doing that, Phil. I laddie Whiskey Nerd is saying I have a few meets with the Sea Bottom Whisky Club. Fun stuff. So there you go. And Rombout is in the Netherlands. I don't have any more. I don't know where in the Netherlands. If I don't, I would be guessing. I've got an idea. But the Sea Bottom Whisky Club as well, which again, that makes sense in the Netherlands, right? So, aye, that's another whisky club. Kevin Grant and Whiskey saying, made my train and missed from the start, but I'll catch up over the weekend. Slant your cousin. Nice to see you in, cousin Kevin. I just sent you a wee WhatsApp message tonight. I hope you take it seriously, my friend. I'm looking forward to hooking up with you soon. Mike Molasses is saying, if your whiskey packaging includes a key, it might be a bit excessive. Absolutely. Jerry Legge saying, maybe if it was a Chinese vPub, Diageo would be interested. It is a wee bit cynical, Jimmy, but I see exactly where you're coming from. Okay, let's get on with what I said I was going to do. We've got two of these really, really in-demand Kilkerrans. Remember when, we could just walk into our local shop and pick up a Kilkerran cast strength or a Kilkerran 12-year-old, right? Maybe for some of you, Jimmy included, maybe not, but it certainly used to be the case here. Now, not so much. Yeah, it's doing very, very well. They don't make a lot of product, but for them, that's what it's all about. This one that I'm opening now is the Sherry Cask Matured, 2022 Kilkerran, 8-year-old cast strength, 58.1% on the hour. Nice pop. Let's get the Sherry cast strength into this Jason Whiskey Wise glass. Oh, a nice noise, such a nice noise. Just a wee dram, a wee pour. And I tried both of these at the Glasgow Whisky Festival. I tried them back to back there, but you're just trying a wee bit and you're trying it in amongst the buzz and the hum of it all. Your palate's pretty saturated, trying lots of different things, especially when you're standing at the Springbank stand, right? Yes, but I do remember that I enjoyed them both. And that's strange for this one, because this is fully matured in port casks for 8 years. Port is not my favoured cask. You can see the kind of magenta highlights and hue that comes through. I don't know if it'll come across on camera, but in here in the room tonight, there is a pinkiness that you get from a port cask, especially when it's been fully matured in a port cask. This is 57.9% ABV, so they're within 0.2% of each other, aren't they? So let's just keep them together and let them settle for a wee minute. Unicycle Master, that looks like a new name. In Massachusetts, we seem to have all of the Springbank at retail. That's incredible, but I know what you're talking about because I've been over in the States. I've walked into your big liquor stores and I've walked up to the Springbank section and just seen it all there. There was one store when I was in Texas that had different years of Springbank local barley. They even had the 16-year-old. It was expensive, but it wasn't like auction secondary market prices. It was just inflated retail, I think. Alistair Gray saying Kilkerran Port is my favourite. More bite, juicy dark fruits for me, and he loves it. Jimmy Legge saying, when will there be another Just Bourbon cast strength Kilkerran? I'll chase that one. That's an interesting question to ask, actually, Jimmy. And Mike is saying, after Dramface Podcast 4, I am now convinced that those glugs are sound effects. Okay. That's when I was doing that thing for the podcast and having a bit of fun, but no, actually, I think that's the first time I've done that on a vPub. They're not effects, they're real. What is your favourite cask? Aquavite says First Fill Whiskey. Most of the folk around here know that if you're in the mood for something bigger and richer and denser, the sherry cask is, but my favourite cask is probably ex-bourbon, and if it's got teenage years or higher, if it's been allowed a bit of time, you just can't beat a refill cask. You can't beat refill ex-bourbon. That's just, I'm so grateful that it exists. I just think it's wonderful. Whiskey with Molly saying, interested to see how this goes. In my opinion, the port cask Kilkerran is far superior to the sherry cask. Well, I preferred the sherry cask at the festival. Let's go with the sherry cask first. It's not, the Campbelltown element is there. It's somehow kind of, I don't know, it's base. It's got base. It's robust. It's bold. The ABV's in check though. This is soft. And there's a sweetness to the sherry, so it's not overly kind of spiced or dry, or maybe American oak style sherry cask as opposed to a European oak on the nose. Sweet, juicy, but the funk is there. There's a damp, wet sack thing. A mulch makes you think autumnal. Cooked, boozy, orange, dried pith, zest, syrup, orange syrup, and a caramel, like a treacle toffee caramel type thing, sweet brown sugar maybe, that towards that kind of, brown sugar, heavy brown sugar. And a wee bit of kind of, maybe like a cough syrup, like a cherry cough syrup, or everything here is dark red and brown. Soft arrival, immediately goes jagged, expressive, lots of detail, lots of things to pick apart. This is more complex than any 8-year-old has any right to be. It's dry, so where I thought it was going to be more American oak and juicy and fruity, it's gone quite dry on the palate. Drying. This is a sherry cask that you wouldn't recommend to somebody who likes or loves sherry casks. This is very bold. This is jagged and expressive and bigger. It's not kind of smooth and decadent and laid back. This is quite shouty. This is very what we look for in a nice cast strength Kilkerran, if I'm honest. Wow, a wee bit salty. Drier than expected. Cherry, cough medicine, cherry tunes, medicinal lozenges, that kind of thing. Excellent start. Let's have a wee drink of water before I go to the port cask. Blair Stevens says, I was lucky enough to have landed the Kilkerrans. I had heard from a few folk that the port was overrated. I disagreed upon cracking it open. Well, listen, it's not difficult to overrate things, let's be honest. If you taste something and it's good, it can, and if you meet other people that say it's good, it can quickly become something that it's excellent. Especially when it comes to Kilkerrans, when they're in such demand. This has got that kind of fruit tea, red berry, slightly tannic, quite honestly, nose. The things that you associate with a port cask. What's interesting actually is, yeah. So there's, it feels like there's a wee puff of smoke in here, like a wee bit like extinguished smoke on the port cask, but I didn't get at all in a sherry cask. Maybe it's, no, maybe not. But fruit tea, red berries. People often talk about strawberries on a port cask thing. I don't often get it, but I get the red berry thing. But I'm thinking more of kind of red currant, more tart fruit, even red apple. And there's a fermenty quite style note here, like a doughy, fudgy, yeasty, but it's positive. It's a nice thing. It's inviting. Let's have a wee sip. The ABV and the strength and the heat is there. It's much more elegant than you expect it to be. You expect the sherry cask to be the elegant one. This is more elegant. It's winey, and it's a dry wine. The fruit's there, but everything is dry. It's light on the palate. That's bizarre, the texture. It's dry. It is tannic. People that like port casks will like this. There is a funk, there's a boldness to it, there's a weight to it. But this is bizarrely more elegant than I remember it being. And so you would imagine the sherry cask one to be the elegant, decadent one. But it's actually, this is a bit more silky. Dry. Silky is a good way to describe this, I think, the way it's on the palate. There was a time that I used to talk about hating, let's not say hate, not liking, strongly not liking red wine cask maturation. And it was Longrow Red that turned me around. It was that boldness, that different take on it that made me think differently about it. And Longrow's a powerful enough spirit to stand up to most casks, honestly. I think Kilkerran is proving, despite the 12 and 16 being very relatively delicate things, in these two 8-year full maturation and very overt strong casks, these two whiskies are showing that it doesn't need to be all about the cask. This is the DNA of Kilkerran is still very much intact. Let's go back to this wee sherry. I'm not cleansing between, I'm just doing a direct comparison. There is a lot of spirit on display here. There's a lot of spirit character, and I don't think anybody would pick these up and think that they're sipping something at 18, 20 years old. It is all expressive and what you would expect from a younger whiskey. The port cask is remarkably refined, honestly. I think it comes across a wee bit more mature. But the sherry cask is the one with all the spark and life and detail. This one is kind of a drier, silky, more linear delivery. Let's do the ABCDs for these. It's ridiculous. A for age, yes. Even though it's a single digit. Look, big 8 right up there on the label. B for bottling strength. Both are cask strength, 57.9% and 58.1, as I say. Check, check. Chill filtration is cask strength, and it's Kilkerran. It's not going to be touched, and it's not going to have any colour added ever, even when it gets to really quite beautiful magenta hues like this port cask. These are fully ABCD compliant. Let's add on the E for environment. It's a very traditional, very old school style distillery down there. But they have already started to make active steps to do away with what's not necessary. Listen, Springbank was not famous for doing lots of superfluous things anyway, but they've removed it. These are naked purchases now. You buy it in the bottle, no extra fluffy packaging. I think it's going to be difficult for them to be as, let's say, clean and green as they want to be, but you cannot accuse Kilkerran of being in any way, like I say, abusive or superfluous. F for finance, 60 quid, 59 pounds. Similar to the Ardnamurchan, maybe even £1 or £2 cheaper for both of them. Very, very distinct, unique, powerful, bold whiskies. Fantastic. They just kill it. They knock it out the park. I'm going to take you back to 2017 now. Jimmy Legg is saying, do you like the Tawny Port? Do you like Tawny Port on its own? So Tawny Port is the one that spends less time in oak, if I'm right. And Ruby is the one that tends to, is that the way I've got it round? I enjoy port generally, much in the same way I do enjoy sherry. I can have a glass and really appreciate it and enjoy it, but I don't often want to go back for more. We've actually got a bottle. My wife and I have a bottle of Pedro Jimenez open right now. It's super sweet, but it's not sickly. It's genuinely lovely. I know somebody's going to ask me what kind of PX. I don't know. I would have to go and grab the bottle. It's just a supermarket one. It's a 35cl bottle, but it's very, very good. Port, if I was someplace and somebody offered me a glass of port, I would take one. I wouldn't seek it out. The port cask takes a drop of water too, says Ben Whiskey with Molly. Sounds like he's really enjoying it. John Miller, has bought me a dram. John, that looks like a new name. Cheers from Oklahoma. Wow, nice to have you in. He's saying new to the channel and branching out from whiskey to whiskey. So whiskey with an E to without an E. All whiskey's good, John. All whiskey's good. Any thoughts on the reported barrel shortage with bourbon and how it will affect Scotch? Thanks. I haven't read too much about it. I've heard the loosest of social media chatter about it. I don't know the details and I can't even comment on it. It would scare me if there was a barrel shortage, but it also doesn't make a lot of sense unless we're talking about a resource shortage rather than a raw materials. What I mean by that is that coopering or some block in the chain because of the recent world events or whatever it may be is stopping the supply chain working, because there's more bourbon being bought right now, and it doesn't matter whether it's been drunk. Once it's out the cask, it's no longer part of the wood. There should be more bourbon barrels available today than there's ever been. So unless it's because of the widespread, rum and all the other spirits that use ex-bourbon barrels, not just Scotch, Irish, and other whiskies, because of the global demand for ex-bourbon barrels, I just don't know the details, John. But I'm going to welcome you in, my friend, and say I'm grateful to have you here and say thank you very much for your dram as well. Cheers. Notice I picked the port cask there. F for flippable. No, we're not even going there, Jimmy Jazz. We are not going there at all. The heavy port. It's wine as it should be. Sherry, I don't enjoy. Ah, wow. Now, it's not like Jimmy to be so black and white, is it? Whiskey with Molly saying, can you Instagram that PX bottle, please? I love a PX, but never tried. I love a PX, but never tried a PX. Okay, I love a PX cask, but never tried. I'll do better than that. I'll send you a wee sample if you want. I feel like I could run up and grab it now, but I don't want to leave. It's sitting up there just now. Ben, I'll send you a wee message with a picture attached. And if I forget to do that after the stream, remind me. I'll send it straight away. It wasn't expensive either. It was a Tesco purchase. First of all, Whiskey saying, have you tried dry sherries like Fino and Manzanilla? I've tried a few here and there now and again. The only sherries that I have a bottle of Oloroso up there and a bottle of Spanish. I think, no, it's Manzanilla. In fact, I know it for fact to be Manzanilla, but it's not open and it was gifted to me. So I haven't tried that one yet. So I've got the Oloroso there. It's not open either. And the only one that's open just now is Pedro Jimenez. I don't know how long sherry lasts. I get the impression it lasts a couple of months. I've certainly not had any issues with it after a couple of months. But it's something, I feel like if I want to understand that style of whiskey better, I'm going to need to spend some time understanding that style of fortified wine better, right? Just not there yet. Peter is saying, Jimmy Jazz was thinking the same way, but then unflippability or so. Aye. Michael Henry's in. Good to see you, Michael. Always great to have you in. Michael Henry, please don't abuse him. Please don't ask him lots of questions about he's here to relax with us as a barfly. If it's a super important, crucial thing, fine. I'm sure he'll take your question. But he's the whiskey maker for Loch Lomond Group. CV has disrupted bourbon bottling. Okay, coronavirus, bourbon bottling. So bourbon emptying has been lower. There hasn't been a shortage of barrels, but supply has been reduced and pricing of bourbons into Scotland much higher. By pricing of bourbons, he's talking about pricing of bourbon casks, I imagine. So that's kind of what I'd hinted upon there, that it's not actual, it's something very contemporary. It's something very of the moment that's causing the problem just now. That's why it's wonderful that you're here, Michael, to give us insight like that, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you. Peter Lee saying, just here. E for environmentally friendly distillery like Ardnamurchan. Peter, we can tell you're just here, but it's brilliant to have you on the exact same hymn sheet, my friend. Welcome in, Peter Lee. Falsgraf is saying, Agua Scotch, he's talking to John Miller as well. Scotch will always be able to adapt if they're doing it right, whatever casks, although bourbon casks are really good. like I've already declared, they are my favourite. So if I take you back to 2017, and I think this is the most interesting thing. You don't have to endure that video from 2017. I watched it myself back again, and as you'd hope, you're kind of looking at it, and I'm being kind of critical of myself and the video and the loud music and the delivery and not being so succinct and things, and for failing to make certain points. But it doesn't matter. It was a 5 years ago video. I should be able to look back that far and see that there's been some potential improvements. However, if you consider what was important to me back then, I laboured the age statement thing. I think it's difficult for us to remember what the whisky scene was like in 2017. Age statements were everywhere, and they were not welcome. Sorry, non-age statements were everywhere, and they were not welcome. The reason is that the industry generally found this thin stock suddenly because the whisky boom had taken off faster before anybody could predict it, and they were short of stock, short of mature stock. So the age statements were removed and they were replaced with a non-age statement whisky. And this wasn't just on supermarket shelves. This was in our specialist shops and online and here, there, and everywhere. Non-age statements were everywhere, and it didn't have a good name. And we were talking back then, look, how bad is it? I think I made the point in that video. We're talking about the Glen Scotia, interestingly, double cask. If it's such a lovely whiskey, why don't they just proudly slap a 7 or 8 year old or whatever it may be on a single digit age statement and put it out there? And if you reflect, if you try and imagine how many single digit age statement whiskies were on the shelf in 2017, I couldn't think much beyond 2. I remember the Glendronach Healing, the Healing from Glendronach at 8 years old. That was out there. Kilkerran 8-year-old cask strength maybe they had one released in 2017. I'm not sure. Maybe late in 2017 there was an 8-year-old Kilkerran cask strength came out. There was very, very few. Now we've got lots of single-digit age statement. More than that, we're much more comfortable connecting with whiskies that don't display a big age statement up front. Either because it's from a new distillery, because there's more detail about the vatting over a wide spread of casks and age statements, that we know that to put an age statement on it representing the youngest component is folly and misrepresents the product. We understand all of these concepts so much better, I think. And we're more accepting of them, not because we've been tenderized, but because we've connected with them. And we've realized that, wait a minute. If you make whiskey for whiskey's sake, if you make the best whiskey you can with an intention, not for blending, not for bulk supply, not for cask trading, but for single malt's sake, make the best whiskey you can, age isn't as important as it was in the 90s, in the early 2000s, or even the mid-2010s. We're seeing things differently now. Whiskey has been made in a different way. We have never had a time, as we do today, where so much whiskey is being produced to be solely sold as a single malt. It's never been like this before. This is unprecedented. Even back before blending happened, even before the days of Andrew Usher, we didn't have anything like this. We didn't have the supply, the export. It was all just because you lived close to that distillery or whatever it was. You just drank the whiskey that they made, the whiskey that you could buy. Then blending came in and it changed everything for 100, 150 years. Today, so much of it is about malt. It's about single malt. And it's been made a very, very different way. We're starting to realize that if we understand more about the whiskey, if there's more information on the label, within SWA regulations, of course, we're all starting to relax a wee bit about age statements. And yes, it helps when there are distilleries out there. Honestly speaking, let's give them credit where credit is due. We can throw mud with one hand, but, pay or give them a thumbs up with the other. Ardbeg bringing out the wee beastie with a 5-year age statement on it. Now there's talk of huge batch variation there with Ardbeg, wee beastie, that 5-year-old. Or some people getting very, very good samples and good bottles, and other people getting not so good. But I also think it was one of those whiskies that's kind of Marmite, right? You either like it or you don't, or the mood or whatever. Nevertheless, there was an Ardbeg out there, and there is an Ardbeg out there now, core range, with a five-year age statement on it. This is good. This is good news for the people who chase transparency, want to know what it's about. So isn't it strange that when I was really labouring that age statement in the 2017 video, how much more relaxed I am about it now? Let's talk about the B, C, and D before we go on for a wee fun game of Visit Speyside. B and C are inextricably connected. It's almost difficult to tease them apart. Bottling strength, chill filtration. If you chill filter, it's because your bottling strength, more or less, not always, is below 46% ABV. Because the fats and the oils in the whiskey come out of their stable state when the temperature is cold, below 45.7, I think it is. And I know that this isn't black and white, and it's all nuanced. We have Michael Henry in here to keep us right. If you see a whiskey that's been bottled at 46% ABV, the idea there is that it's not chill filtered. It's usually safe to assume that it's not chill filtered, but it helps if you put it on the label. I think that's crucial. Just put it on the label, non-chill filtered, unchill filtered. Doesn't take a lot of letters. It doesn't take a lot of space. Let's look at, let's grab one of these. Let's grab our latest Kilkerran here. B and C. Bottling strength here is very healthy. 50.6% ABV, well above that 45.7, 46% barrier. But they also happily put I don't even think the camera can focus on this, but I'll hold it up there. Down there, just, it does, believe me, it does say non-chill filtered. I mean, Ralphie would need a couple of steampunkers to read it. I can barely make it out, but I know that that's what it says. It doesn't say anything about age on here. There isn't an age statement on it, and there's not a lot of writing on the bottle. But naughty Kilkerran, put a wee sticker on the bottle. It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot more environmentally friendly. It does go into more detail here. It talks about 2015 cask type ex-bourbon barrels, 57% used. 2015 rum barrels, 16% used. 2015 French wine barrels, 27% used. Is this Kilkerran? What's going on? Is this Kilkerran that's giving us all this information? More, please. Honestly, this is such a breath of fresh air. This is an abused distillery that was just supermarket fodder. It was boring, it was dull, it was insipid, and the stuff that wasn't dull and insipid was, quite frankly, awful. You would try an independent from Kilkerran and say, oh, wait a minute, this is all tropical fruit and interesting. Unique even, funky, the odd, bizarre, but interesting. I like this. This is the Kilkerran I want. And now, not in 2017, not even close in 2017, but now in 2022, this is the Kilkerrans that we're getting, thanks to the warehouse releases and, most recently, the new 16-year-old. B and C is inextricably linked. Bottling strength and chill filtration, they are fully connected. Colour. Come on, Kilkerran, tell us. Tell us its natural colour. Distilled in 2015, it tells us here. I'm pretty sure that they've started to put on here natural colour. I might need to do a bit of searching, but I would love this to be natural colour. Oh, here we go. Colour on the box. Put it on the bottle. I want to throw this away and I don't even want to have it. Just sell me it in the bottle. Maybe you can give me a 50p, £1 discount. Fantastic. This was not expensive, by the way. It was £53. But it does say colour, natural, golden amber. Very tongue-in-cheek. Maybe you can just about make that out. I'm not sure. But it says it there on the box. This does check the boxes. You have to do a bit of digging. You have to go look a bit deeper to discover it, but you do find that it checks those boxes. I wish they would make it a wee bit easier. So I'm either going to open this after we play a game of Visit Speyside, or I'm potentially going to open the Glentauchers. That these were the next two most in demand. Jimmy Legacy in the Kilkerran looks orangey on camera. It's my face that's making it orange. If I move my face out of the way, you should see it to start go quite yellow, golden. There we go, Jimmy. That looks very welcoming, doesn't it? I hope that looks a wee bit better. It's my flushed face that makes everything a wee bit warmer coloured. Second glass of that Kilkerran, it's just getting better. So we have Danny Hevington enjoying it. Penny in the slot is saying definitely good signs from Kilkerran. Let's hope that rubs off on Jura. Listen, Jura is far too much of a success story in terms of sales volume. I don't think they're going to change a lot there. But distilleries like Tam the Villain's a bit similar, actually. But Kilkerran, under new inspiration, I'm suspicious, have decided, no, let's do this. If they're going to give us what we want, we need to embrace it. We need to talk about it. And we need to use it as the opportunity to get to know that distillery and understand them better. I am enjoying my Kilkerrans. And I never thought I'd say this, but I've now got 4 bottles on the shelf. Not in these, official bottles of Kilkerrans. One of them I wouldn't recommend, but 3 of them, I think, well, actually 2 of them I would. One of them I've still got to open. But it's natural, so I'm already rooting for it, right? Who did I miss? Sorry, Bill Dollar saying that 5-year-old ABCD video has 75,000 views. It's good content and has educated a lot of folks. Thanks, Bill. Thank you very much. I'd love to change lots of things about it. And Rican Haddix, it's good to see you and my friend Kilkerran doing that to the presentation. Then you have Glendronach going the other way. Madness. I think what's going to come out of that Glendronach thing is that it's less, they haven't really changed that much about what they do in whiskey, but it's how they communicate it. It's just Brown-Forman making a complete arse of things. They haven't actually changed the whiskey so much. But in the spirit of what we're talking about tonight, if you don't put it on the label, what's the point? Peathead has just chimed in and said, if they write it on the box, they fail both the D and the E. He's talking about the Kilkerran if they only put it on the box. If you chuck it away and it's not in the bottle. I agree, Frank. It doesn't take much. On the back of the bottle of Kilkerran, they do go into great detail and very, very small text about the history and the backstory and all of that, which is also repeated in the box. Ditch that story, keep that on the box, and give us the important stuff to leave in the bottle. Said the whiskey geek, of course. Gordon Fraser is saying, I was the lucky recipient of a few bourbon drams from Aquavita himself. Loved them, but I'm a wee bit of a patriot. So, he's into his Scotch. But I did send Gordon a couple of nice bourbons in order. And it's nice for him to be coming back and saying, actually, that's good. Because there are lots of really delicious bourbons out there. And Penny in the slot is saying, Aquavita, that Glentauchers has been on my to-buy list. Would love to hear your thoughts. You're not alone when it comes to the recent Kilkerran. Love too. Fantastic. I'm glad you're enjoying it as well. All right, I think it's time that we get the wheels. Oh my goodness, it's an hour and a half in. So hoping to keep it neat tonight. Don't always say that, but let's get a wee game of visit to Speyside. I'll open one more bottle after that, and then we'll get straight into the quiz at the end. Prestige Liquids is in. Andrew, good to see you. Do you think the noise that Whiskey Tubers reviewers make about transparency makes much difference to the decisions made by distillers? The YouTubers are just building on years and years and years of whiskey enthusiasts, geeks, connoisseurs, however you want to. We're celebrating 20 years of Whiskey Fun right now. Serge, right? He doesn't kind of bang the drum or jump up on a shouty soapbox about these things, but he makes mention of them from time to time. There's just been a swell building of much more awareness, much more curious questioning, and it's built up and built up and built up. Now, the advent of all the technology that we enjoy today, which includes obviously YouTube and all the other social media channels, is talked about faster and louder than it ever was. And so there's a quickening happening. And I think it's amazing in the last 5 years, Andrew, from that 2017 video to where we are today, that the landscape is remarkably different. Danny Hevington is saying, boy, we are spoiled. Sometimes Glencadam 5 minutes away and Kilkerran 15 minutes away. That's maybe where you are, Danny. Wait a minute. Glencadam and Kilkerran are pretty close to each other. That makes sense. Fastcraft is saying, going to stay for the game, but we'll have to go to sleep. I want to be fit in Limburg. I'll have to sleep a bit. See you there. I can sleep next week. But I'm glad that you're making sane plans for it. Okay, let's bring in my first guest for a wee game visit to Speyside. Should be good fun. I hope it's good fun after 2 weeks ago. That was tremendous. And I'm going to go over to a friend in Belgium. I'm going to go over to everybody that you know as Whisky 101. I just know him as Nick. And if I bring him in here now, I think what I need to do, Nick, is apologise, because I think for a long, long time, I used to confuse your little icon with Shayla, Whiskey Central in Mexico.
Indeed, my twin Shayla.
That's right. It's good to see you, buddy. You've gone off camera and changed. You were not wearing an Aquavite shirt.
I've gone merch now. I've put the bonnet on now because I think we're having such a rant, which I do enjoy a good rant. So I'm ready to crush some cardboard boxes and put some whiskey on the naughty step.
Aye, listen, ready to go. It's okay to rant, but there has to be a value. There has to be a point behind it. There has to be a justification. We're not going to all turn into angry, shouty men, are we? We're going to
no.
Rant with thought. Rant with thought. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And there's some questions coming in from about the Lakes whiskey as well. There's a lot of new distilleries struggling with this whole ABCD things. Maybe no Rolex, no sex. I'll be able to pick it up on the summary at the end. Nick, it's good to have you in. I think we've been on a video call in the past together, but this is the first time you've been on the vPub live. So welcome. Thanks for stepping behind the bar. But you told me how we'd met before, and on theme with what I talked about tonight with the Malt Chasers club in Connecticut, I think there was a wee bit of a gathering started to happen, bizarrely in Belgium, because you do not have a Belgian accent. What's the story there?
No, so I don't have a Belgian accent indeed, but I came here temporarily for work some 16 years ago, so I've been here and well established now. And indeed, through the chat here, connected with a few of the people from Belgium. We got our own little messenger group going, and last year we had our first Belgian Barflies blind tasting, and many people will know some of the names: Era McFall and Tom Bruggen, and of course our evil quizmaster Menno Multimission, who we love very much, but you know.
And Christopher Torres as well. Can you tell me the Christopher Torres? Because just as I'm speaking to you now, I've been reminded of the Chris Torres story, right? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so with Chris, so with the Barflies, we decided to meet up, and because of all the COVID and so on, of course, we had to do it virtually. So I arranged to bottle all of the blind samples. So for me, it was semi-blind, but for everybody else, it was blind. So we agreed to meet up in one of Belgium's quite famous whiskey stores and swap the sample bags. So I went in my Aquavite merch because I just so they could spot who I was.
Seemed appropriate, yeah.
Seemed appropriate, and it was easy to spot each other and swap the bottles. And there was one of the Barflies who I'd originally done a set for, but he dropped out a few weeks before, so no problem. But on the day, I don't know why, but on the day, I just decided to put the extra set in the car. And whilst I was in the store waiting for Era, a guy walks past and says, "Oh, I'm also a Barfly, so good to see you." And this was Christopher Torres. So he introduced himself.
This wasn't planned. This was completely out of the blue.
Not at all. Just out of the blue. He spotted the T-shirt and introduced himself. So we were chatting a bit in the store, and I said to him, "We're having a tasting tonight. Do you fancy joining?" And he said, "Oh, I don't mind. I haven't got any drams, but I'll at least join and chat along." I said, No. Serendipity has played its part, and I have a spare set in the car. So I gave him a spare set, and he joined in with the blind tasting. So it really was.
And that was the one I was able to join in as well. Yeah,
indeed,
absolutely fantastic. So. Listen, it'd be great if you can keep things like that going. But what I really want to happen is for me to make my way over to Belgium, and for me to find. And I know that you have your own festivals and things to do over there. Era often talks about the Spirit in the Sky. Is it?
Spirit in the Sky. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there's a scheduling clash from time to time. I think it's with Glasgow often, but never say never. It would be great to come over there and hang out with you sometime. That would be tremendous.
And it's got quite a growing whiskey scene out here now. So also Belgian whiskey is growing and growing, and we've got now about 20 distilleries and another 9 or 10 about to come online in the next 2 years. So you can also get out and see some of the local distilleries.
Well, I've been lucky enough to try a couple of Belgian distilleries too, normally through the generosity of the community, which is amazing. But you're under pressure tonight. You're on here for a wee game of Is It a Speyside, aren't you?
Indeed. Yeah.
Well, I suppose the pressure comes with me saying, are you the sniper? Are you taking the shots tonight? Or are you the target, Nick? What's it going to be?
So I have the bottle, so you're asking tonight,
Okay,
really.
so I'm
time
asking.
out. I'm a bit, I'm not willing to take that one. If we have a rematch, I promise you that I'll do the asking.
No. Listen, there's no worry. Listen, I just appreciate, because I know what it takes for a lot of folk to just step up here and to do this live, whether they're doing the asking, which is the big pressure, or just participating. It's just good to have you on, buddy. So you, heading off screen, you have a bottle of core range single malt Scotch whiskey, and I've got 10 questions to guess what it is. You can only tell me yes and no, and everybody, including yourself, is playing for one of these. I'll need to get my head out of the way. One of these Is It a Speyside challenge coin glass toppers here. So there's not a lot at stake here, but I think there is a wee bit of pride and kudos at stake, don't you think?
Indeed.
Excellent. So you've got a bottle. I'm just going to start asking. Let me pull up the counter, and we can count away. Okay, buddy, I'm obviously going to ask straight out the hatch. Is it a Speyside, Nick?
Yes, it is.
Ooh, it's a Speysider. Is under the ownership of one of the big four, Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Grants, or Edrington? I'm going to say no, it is not.
No, it is not.
Yeah, because people tend to like to make it a wee bit trickier. Does it have Glen in the name?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, beauty. That's a good
one.
Not
made it too hard for you. Right?
Okay, let me think, Nick. We're looking for an independent Glen. It's not a Diageo. It's not a Pernod Ricard. It's not Grant, so it's not going to be Glenfiddich. It's not going to be Glenrothes either, because that would be Edrington. So it can only be what? Glen Grant. Struggling to think. Glenfarclas. Am I getting too ahead of myself here? Do I need to tie it down a wee bit? Glen Murray? I'm looking at your poker face here. There's nothing happening. Okay, let me ask, is it 46% ABV in line with tonight's theme or above?
Yes.
It is. Is it? It could be Glenallachie. Is it a Glenallachie?
No.
Is it a Glenmurray?
Yes.
Is it Glenmurray 18 Heritage?
Let's have a look. I'm missing Whiskey Mystery, so I'm glad to see them in tonight and hoping they're having a good trip. But are you ready for the reveal?
I'm ready for the reveal. I didn't know you were going to do this. Excellent.
It's 18 years old. It is a Speyside. It's 47.2%, and it is Glenmurray.
Fantastic, fantastic. Superb, superb. You see,
you got it quite quick. I was impressed with you.
Yeah. Listen, as soon as you said yes to the Glen, I thought, I'm in for a good chance here. I'm in for the good chance.
I thought you might go down Glenallachie in a bit more. It's one of those interesting ones, this. Whiskey Games Matt Bishop mentioned at the beginning, because, A, yes, 18 years old. B, it's 47.2%. C is non-chill filtered, written on the bottle. But then when we get to D, it says, thanks to our German friends here on the back, mit Farbstoff.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, then who's to say that?
We have to stay on this positive side of that, Nick, and on theme for tonight. There was a time where you could not buy an unchill filtered Glenmurray. It just didn't exist. And they've managed to do this thing because they are seen as a kind of a supermarket type product. So you've got the classic range for that, which is low ABV, of course, and it's not going to do very well on ABCDs. It's going to be lucky to make a single one. But what it does is bring whiskey to people for 20-25 pounds a bottle, and it's still enjoyable whiskey. There's nothing there's nothing bad, or we can't be snobbish about these things. It's still good whiskey. But they've been able to straddle that line a little bit with their heritage range. Their different series. They've got much more experimental and special edition things coming out now, and they've managed to bring that. They're older. They're 15, I think, is part of the heritage. Yeah. They're 18, much more natural. What would it take, Glen Murray? Better casks, chill out a bit about the colour. What would it take for you to disengage a wee bit and just wean yourself off the colour? You're absolutely right. Yeah, often what you'll find, Nick, is that even when they don't add colour, that sticker is still there just to cover themselves, though, right?
Yeah, maybe, because it says here only first fill American casks, or first fill for 18 years and still with colour. Strange.
Artificially elevated colour. It is a wee shame. It is a wee shame. Still, I'm pleased that I don't know how. Yeah. It is. I've got it here. I've got the 18 here.
How many was still on the? This is €75 here, so about £64 for you
for an 18-year-old as well.
Yeah, that kind of strength. So,
but to be fair, you do get most things a bit cheaper there over on the continent.
Yeah,
you do well on pricing. Yep. Are you able to hang out with us and stay a wee bit late for the quiz?
Absolutely. Yep, looking forward to it.
Fantastic, buddy. I don't even remember how many were still up there, but I think I got it with 3 or 4 left.
On 4 to go, I think. 4 to go.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah. I'm pleased with that one. Nick, you can come back anytime. Cheers, my friend. I'll see you for the quiz a wee bit later. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, Roy.
All the best to you and the Belgian Barflies. Cheers.
Cheers. Pleasure.
Oh, I'm feeling good about that. Let's reach out to my second guest for another quick visit at Speyside before we do a wee summary and get into the quiz. This guy's got a channel on YouTube now as well. And what I'm going to do, he's had a channel for a wee while, but I'm going to copy. Because one of the things I love to do is spread a bit of love, right? And kind of get the subs up. This guy's been churning out content for well over a year now. And he's still in the low hundreds in subs, I just noticed tonight. So I'll pop Jeff Whisky, his link in the live chat, and hope that you can jump in. Give him a wee sub, and that'll remind you to give him a wee watch after the vPub. But let's reach out to our Jeff, see if he's doing okay. How are you, my friend? Good to see you, Jeff. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. I wish you didn't do so well just then with guessing the bottle, because, it doesn't put me in good stead, does it?
That means you're going to be guessing tonight then, does it?
Well, people like to see people lose, don't they? So I've got to provide thanks for them.
Listen, you're a familiar face to me as well, Jeff. This is your first time on the vPub, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Jimmy Legg's shouting, I hope this one is tougher. See, he's still smarting because I beat his spreadsheet 2 weeks ago, right? So he's still hurting a little bit. I can't even remember what I beat. It was a Glasgow distillery one. I do appreciate the bravery, Jeff, but listen, you do the best you can. I don't think I'm not going to leave any spoilers about it. If you get this, you get it fair and square. But it's all about the participation. I should have had a wee look to see who got the Glen Murray 18 in there. I need to catch up with it. I'm hoping that Helen is going to help me out with this whole mess I'm getting myself into with this at Speyside. Anyway, but what's going to be happening tonight is I have to have the bottle now, and I am the target, and you are going to try and snipe it. 10 questions. Okay, let's start from the top, buddy. How's the channel going? Are you still enjoying it?
Yeah, unfortunately I'm not pumping out videos as quickly as I like to, so I've just got a little one, and life gets in the way. But I'm loving it, and it's been wonderful. People like yourself, Ralphie, Vin at No Nonsense. So many people have just got involved, and there's a weird niche I've created around slapping a bottle, and that's caught on. People like that for some weird reason, so I ran with it, and I'm now called a slapper in a loving way, I hope.
Yeah, you've actually had me slapping a bottle of whiskey on the channel. You've had Ralphie, I've noticed that, slap my bottle of whiskey in the channel. And listen, it's all just for a bit of fun. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, what it is about is just about, once everybody gets an idea that you're here, you're serious, you're passionate, you're doing the real thing and stuff, it's all, there is a family feeling, a mutual support. And it's nice to be involved, and it's nice to be part of it. Espen has bought me a wee dram. Work tomorrow, must sleep for a good night. Good night, Roy and everyone. Espen, thanks for the dram, and sleep well, my friend. Nice of you to drop in while you could. Cheers to you. Cheers. But I'm going to relax now, and I'm going to let Jeff from Jeff's Whiskey on YouTube. I've dropped the link in as well. I'll drop it in again and hope that we can get some extra wee subs that haven't discovered what you're doing. It's not just about slapping bottles. I think you're relatively new in your journey, only a few years in, Jeff, right? So you're kind of, it's an exploration share type thing, but you're also, your videos are, you must be in some kind of the creative arts, you must be in digital creation of some description, because your videos have a bit of polish to them too. So what is it you do is,
well, you
right?
say polish, is that as in polish a turd kind of job?
No, that's in genuine polish, professionalism polish I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I've embraced the whole kind of stupidness that is YouTube, you know, the wonderfulness of stupidness. And
the whimsy.
Whimsy is a great word, like the pompousness and all the ridiculousness. I don't have the brains for facts and distilleries. Like, I've made notes before for videos, I can't remember it.
Yeah.
I've only just now panicked and thought, oh, I need to get a map up for this so I know what I'm doing, and I've loaded one in German. My Deutsch is not that good.
Well, you have to do the best you can. As map of Scotland and German, fantastic. Good luck with it, buddy. Okay, I do have a core range bottle of single malt Scotch whiskey. It's just off screen here. I'm not going to bring it in. I can leave it there. And you've got 10 questions. Let me bring this in. Ask away when you're settled and ready, my friend. Good luck.
Is it north of Glentauchers?
Oh, wow. Straight into the specifics. No.
Okay.
That's a good one to ask.
Okay, there goes every bottle I had in my head. Is it a Lowlands whiskey?
No, it's not, buddy.
Is it a Campbelltown?
Yes.
Is it?
Jimmy Leg's going to be raging. No, this is supposed to be difficult.
Is it a Kilkerran?
No.
Oh. Has it got an age statement?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I've got to start thinking now. I can't just keep whipping out questions.
No, you're doing fine. Whiskey with Molly saying, can you ask Jeff Whiskey to turn that shirt down a bit, please? I like it. Don't you listen to Ben. Don't you listen to him. I'll send you a photo of what Ben's wearing the next time I meet him.
I was planning on wearing my, merch top for you, Aquavite top, but I'm sure it shrunk over the year. It's not anything else. It's not to do with lockdown.
Yeah. It's not because of how close you've been to the fridge, right? I'll send you a bigger shirt, buddy. Just let me know.
So is it 12 or younger?
Oh, no.
Ooh. Trying to think now. So it's in Campbelltown. God, there's a lot of pressure in there on this side of the screen.
You're doing well. You've still got 4 questions to ask, and before you have to make a final guess. Ask away.
Is it a Glen Scotia?
No.
So what ones have I asked for? So it's a spring.
You've asked it. Is it a Kilkerran? I said no. Is it a Glen Scotia? I said no.
So is it a Springbank?
Yes.
And it's above. Oh.
You asked if it was age stated.
Yeah.
You also asked if it was above 12 years.
So
I said yes to both.
I wish I knew Campbelltown more. I wish I was able to get my hands on it so I could have done the research.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm in a pickle.
I have a Springbank here that has an age statement.
Is it? I'm just going to go for it. I've got 2. Is it? I'm not Googling anything. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to have a wing. Is it Springbank 15?
Oh. Yes.
Oh, get on.
Yes. There we go. Springbank 15, indeed. Well done. Well done. And you still had a question to ask before you had to make a commitment. Easy peasy.
You did make it easy.
Difficult for you. Tamir, I think his name is Tamir, guessed Springback 15 quite early, but there might have been somebody ahead of him. I was able to keep my eye on the chat a wee bit for that one there. Tamir, if it's you that got it, well done, but it may be somebody that sneaked in before him. Well done. There we go, buddy. So I have been beaten, or oh no, sorry, I won one tonight, and I was beaten on the other one. See, sometimes it does well to ask. There was no need to be nervous. You got it comfortably in the end. Terrific stuff. I'll drop in a channel link for anybody that wants to jump across and see what Jeff Whisky is sharing as well. Let's have a wee look. Let's see what. Now, if I refresh the page, I'm going to get your video starting up, haven't I? Again.
I've changed it. I quickly stopped it because that's very annoying, isn't it? No one wants a video to play when you go to a page.
Well, I mean, I get it. It was one of the things that I think I had it on mine at one stage, but yeah, I quickly turned it off as well. I thought the rule was that is it a Speyside bottle had to be readily available, Roy? Oh, cutting remarks from Doc McCallan Fane Rare. You've got a point, but it is core range, of course. Hellswood is saying Black Fen. Oh, Black Fen, nice to have you in. And it seems like Helen is saying that he was actually first tonight. Fantastic. Well done to you. That's you sniped yourself. Is it a Speyside sniper coin? I'm behind on sending out my sniper coins. But you've won one as well, and so is Nick, just for appearing live and taking part in it. Are you able to hang around to the quiz at the end?
Yeah, I'll try my best to.
Fantastic, buddy. I'll bring you back in a wee bit, but congratulations. Well done. Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers. Thanks, Roy.
So there we go. 50-50 tonight. I won one, and I was beaten on one. No problem. I didn't really try. I mean, if you go Campbelltown, I think, is that quite easy? It depends. I don't know. It depends how quickly you can get down to Campbelltown. Fantastic. Congratulations to Black Fen as well. Let's finish up quickly. I'm going to open. I've got a wee empty, clean Glencairn here, and I'm going to open one more bottle. And is it a case of maybe the Wolfburn? I don't. I've just had somebody mention to me that this is a quieter whiskey, maybe one to sit with and having a quiet moment. I've got the April Fool Ardnamurchan. I've got the Kilkerran that people are interested in, and I've also got the Glentauchers. Let's have a look at the poll. Let's just go with what the poll said. The original plan was exactly that. And if I look at this, in fourth place now, we're in fourth place. Kilkerran was 38 votes, but the Gordon and MacPhail at Glentauchers was 46. Glentauchers it is. I'll need to wait for the Kilkerran. That'll come in another vPub, and a lot of people are wanting to know about that Kilkerran too. I might do that separately on another thing. I bought this in a Good Spirits company just today, and I was in there to collect my Ardnamurchan, and I spotted this on the shelf. $5 north of what I was comfortable paying for it, but it's not too bad. Let's have a look at ABCs first. Distilled in 2007. There's an age statement on there. 46% ABV, fantastic. It doesn't mention anything anywhere about colour or filtration. Now, Gordon and MacPhail are a wee bit like that. They're a bit conservative, a bit traditional. Maybe it says on the box somewhere. You would have to think a small batch release like this isn't chill filtered. And at 46% ABV, that would certainly encourage that belief. And I would really hope, being Gordon and MacPhail, that it's natural colour too. But wouldn't it be nice if they were proud of that and they just displayed it on the label up front? Let me double check again. Nice if it was in big, bold writing. Tasting notes. If it is there in that text at the back, it's very small and difficult for me to find. Let's just go for it. I want to talk about this on theme for tonight because... Did you hear that? It's quiet. This new soft-shouldered Gordon and MacPhail bottling doesn't give us a glug. I'll need to add it. I'm expecting Glentauchers to be fruity, and this is bad. It's just a big bowl of fruit right away. Fruit salad, big bowl of citrus, even some fresh fruits like like melon, white melon. Oh wow, there's confectionery fruit as well. It's like almost like opal fruits, starburst, whatever you want to call them. Juicy fruit chewing gum. fruit. Some spice. I need to go elsewhere off the fruit to find other things, but it's all about the fruit. It is such a fruit forward distillery. I went in at the Good Spirits Company and saw that in the shelf today and wondered why Roddy hadn't snagged it already, but he might have picked himself up one. One of his favourites, Glentauchers. Roddy will be joining us in a couple of weeks' time. I mean, very, very tempting. The cask here, I'm not sure about it, but it reminds me, it's very reminiscent of a sherry refill sherry cask. Maybe a bit of a quite active bourbon in here too. A little bit drier. The fruit's all there. Softer. I've been drinking cask strength whiskies all night. This is 46% ABV, so the delivery is much softer. Easy drinker. Pour this for anybody. It's going to go down well. A little bit of dryness there. Mix of sherry cask and bourbon cask here, I think. I think it's mostly refill, if I was to guess. It's slightly, a wee bit flatter than I expected, if I'm honest. I want a wee bit more vibrance, and I'm not just talking about ABV here. I'm talking about you want that spice to be on the palate, not just on the nose. You want the fruit to be a wee bit more defined. It's quite soft. It's quite linear. Surely this wouldn't be coloured, would it? Anyway, what's interesting is distillery labels. Now, distillery labels, think Linkwood, think Glentauchers, think Mortlach, think Speymalt, Macallan. Gordon and MacPhail have had distillery labels for a long, long time. But only very recently, along with their Connoisseur's Choice, the ABV has been bumped up from 40 and 43% to 46% right across the board. Now, some releases were often 46% and sometimes a wee bit higher, but minimum 46% presentation. Only the Discovery series is below that these days. They're quite a traditional legacy company when it comes to presentation, Gordon and MacPhail. We could do with them just kind of stepping outside of that conservative attitude and being a bit more bold and up to date and just going for natural presentation, just telling us, look, we're not shelf filtering this. We're not adding colour. This is for you. This is for the geek, the connoisseur. This is for the enthusiast. I think they're getting there. I think they're very close. Not much to check off all the ABCDs, but currently, as I look at this bottle tonight and give it the amount of time that I would if I was stood next to it, looking at it, there's no QR codes on here or anything for me to scan quickly. I have to say it doesn't meet all the ABCDs. Interestingly, it's a wee bit linear on the palate too. It's not fair sipping it on the back of those cask strengths, I suppose, but I mean, it's nice. It's soft. The fruit's good. It's a bit okay, but it's quite flat. I'll leave it there and have a wee bit of time with it. Let's jump into the chat before we do quiz at the end. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with me. I've managed to fill 2 hours talking about something that I already spoke about extensively in 2017. Macallan Fine and Rare is saying we should use the A+ for a vintage and A for a simple age statement. That's interesting. Absolutely. A gets a check if it's a vintage, if it's an age statement, or if there's any information to discern what's like the QR code in the Ardnamurchan, for example. We can tell exactly what the vatting is through looking at that. So it gets a check. Whisky Whistle is in with these Ukrainian colours. Fantastic to see you, Mark. I hope you're doing very well. And if it were cask strength, Macallan Fine and Rare, it could be cask strength Connoisseur's Choice. Good to see you in, Mark. Whisky Whistle, another of my peers putting content out there on YouTube. And he's been doing it for years, way longer than me. Good to see you, Mark. Mike is saying, Jimmy Legg, did you ask Weety for permission before dividing your attention? Listen, I got into trouble for asking Jimmy Legg, for not asking Jimmy Legg for permission recently. So it makes sense that he should take a bit of heat for not asking me permission as well. Fantastic. Still 250 of you in right at the end after 2 hours. Listen, I really, really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have you. Tony Nelson's in as well. Good to see you, Tony Nelson. I always like to see your name. You were here for the very, very first vPub ever back in 2017. But we're going to close out, as we always do, with the quiz at the end. I hope that I've managed to make some kind of cohesive sense tonight, that the ABCDs were very, very useful back in 2017, and I think they still very much are today. But some things have kind of become a bit less important. Color is still a big deal for me. Don't add color, especially when you don't add anything to anything when you don't tell people about it. It's just bad. It's not going to endure. Either you stop now or you'll be forced to stop at some point in the future. Why don't you just stop? B and C are inextricably linked, bottling strength and chill filtration. It's just together. But I want it to just tell us. It's trendy to tell people it's non-chill filtered. And I know that it provokes questions. People see that phrase non-chill filtered and they want to dig deep, and then they uncover all the dirty secrets. Nonsense. Don't be so conservative. Embrace modern times. Whiskey is a wonderful thing. Don't take things away. Don't add things. I know there's a place for everything, but you can see, based on the discussion we've had tonight, it's moving very positively in that direction. It would be nice for people to get on board before it was forced. It would be nice for them to embrace it, be somewhat of an early adopter. Age for me has become probably the weakest thing, the thing I demand least, because of the world that we live in now, where we're so much driven on knowing what's behind the whiskey, flavour, everything about the bottle, and we'd care less about age. It's nice if we can discover the age through that wonderful QR code system from Ardnamurchan, single-digit age statement, a vintage, whatever it may be. That Kilkerran that I haven't opened tonight has the vintage 2015 on the label. They're admitting that this is potentially 7 maximum, can only be 7 years old maximum. We're in 2022. This is encouraging. We're not afraid of young whiskey. You're not overcharging us. This is a small batch thing, I believe. £53, I think that costs. 50.6% good health ABV. But more than anything, just a breath of fresh air from a vastly ignored distillery. A lot's changed in 5 years. And long may that positive change continue. Andrew's saying, Gordon Fraser first, looking forward to getting 10 out of 10 for effort again. Take it, Gordon. It's only you're looking after yourselves. And Andrew Prestige Liquors is saying, when pretty much every other type of food drink company legally need to provide ingredient details, it's interesting to see that whiskey is exempt. Not for long. Absolutely not. It can't exist. Chill filtration is going to be forced because of the environmental impact that it has. Colouring is going to be forced because of what you've mentioned, Andrew. It's ridiculous. In 2022, they can just dose a whiskey to any level they like and not even tell you that it's in there. Absurd. Absolutely absurd. We understand, for consistency, fine, put it on the label. Tell us that you've added E150A, because the people that don't care about the colour and the fact that it's added are not going to care that it's written on the label. Or, alternatively, keep it natural. Tell us that it's natural and use it to positively promote the message. Penny in the slot is saying, I was surprised to see that Benromac's Cara Gold didn't have a natural colour statement. Asked them about it and they said it was natural, but made the choice to leave it off the label. Listen, we're talking about G&M. The exact example that I've just lifted up and showed you there. Benromac's always leaves you with this idea that you can almost reach out and grab it, and it's always just drifts out a reach. Benromac's so frustrating, a wee bit like Glengoyne, honestly. It's just, you're so close. What's stopping you? What concept? What kind of? Is it confidence? Is it legacy? Is it conservative? Is it decisions that we? Is it your market? Is it where you're positioning it? It's frustrating, but I get you, Penny in the slot. And I agree with you fully on the Cara Gold from Benromac as well. Daniel Williams is saying, did you miss my super chat earlier? Oh my goodness, Daniel, I might have. Or did you toast my wedding anniversary? And I missed it. I most definitely did miss the super chat. I don't know what I was doing, probably gassing. But Daniel Williams, my friend, Daniel Williams is he's in the Netherlands. Daniel Williams, he would very much think Wales, but he's not. He's over there in the Netherlands. He's living in the Netherlands. He's located in the Netherlands, and apparently currently celebrating a wedding anniversary. Can we all join together and raise a glass for long-term Barfly and my friend Daniel Williams and say, my friend, happy anniversary to you and your other half. Cheers to you. And I'm very much sorry that I missed your super chat. I do miss them from time to time. It's the worst crime. That's what makes my head hurt with Glentauchers. And they're thinking, I know, it's just detachment. It's utter just a detachment. You know, the Glentauchers thing, it's Brown Foreman. You know, it's the big overlord coming in and making sweeping decisions based on not taking nuance or anything into account and communicating it very, very poorly. Because they didn't actually change the whiskey. However, the Gordon MacPhail, Ben Romack thing, it's just go the whole hog. You are very unique for so many reasons in what you do independent and up there in Forest as well. I don't understand. I just don't get it. Anyway, let's move on to the quiz at the end. I'm hoping that my pals are able to hang out with us right to the quiz at the end. If you are thinking about hanging about tonight, please do. It should be a hell of a lot easier than Menno's brutal quiz from a couple of weeks ago. I hope you have some fun with it tonight. I did put it together in a wee bit of a hurry. There might be some odd questions, but you should be able to easily get a pass mark of 5 out of 10 tonight. All the questions are always multiple choice, and you're only scoring yourself and playing against yourself. Nick, Jeff, if you're up for coming back in for the quiz, give me the thumbs up. Nick, in you come. Fantastic. You're ready. It's always nice to bring you in when you're not mid-nose pick or whatever it may be. And I'll bring up the quiz. How would you guys normally score? Nick, would you normally make a pass mark? Yes, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, wow. Your audio is gone, buddy. I'll take you out. Could you replace that for your wired? Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah,
we had
turn into an alien.
Yeah, we had Dalek Nick appear there all of a sudden. I wonder if the Bluetooth or maybe its batteries are flat or something. What would you normally look for? Would you normally go for a pass mark, Jeff?
I wish. I'm doing good if I'm punching a 3 here.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you're doing it live tonight, buddy. So
yeah,
the
no
sweat
pressure.
up from your brow during the visit at Speyside is maybe going to gather again. Graham Fraser saying, looking forward to my manager's tour of Ben Romack next week. Graham, you star. It's good to see you in, buddy. It's great to see you in. Graham Fraser is such a wealth of knowledge. Watch what he scores tonight. Primal Whiskey, great live. Thank you. Saludos. Primal Whiskey looks like a new name, and it's wonderful to have welcomed you in tonight. I hope you hang about for the quiz at the end, my friend. Right, let's have a wee look. Yeah, Nick looks like he's plugged in his wired. Let's see if this is. Are you working now, Nick?
Hello, hello.
Oh, yes. Aye. It might have been a connection issue. We don't know.
Maybe.
We'll go with it. You can see and hear us okay, buddy, right?
Yep.
Good. Let's get the wheels on. You normally get a pass mark, Nick, don't you?
Yeah, normally around 6 or 7. So not too much. I've had 110 once on the Deanston quiz.
There is a lag with you, buddy. What I recommend you do, and I'll watch for you, drop out and use the exact same link to come back in again. It'll refresh and we'll be fixed. Fantastic. I'll watch for you. Because I don't want him to be put at a disadvantage, right, Jeff? Especially when he's talking about how he usually does okay with the quiz. Petehead is saying extra point for honesty. Absolutely. Jeff, there you go. Take a point before you've even started. Gordon Fraser is saying Roy levels of microphone woes. Yeah, do you remember my Dalek days? It was horrific. I've still not got to the bottom of that. I think it was either capacitance or software issues. We'll watch for Nick coming back in. Here he goes. Is that better, Nick?
Is it okay now for you?
Oh, you're back with us. Superb. Perfect timing too. Good luck to both of you, and thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Here we go with question 1. Yes. Right on cue. I forgot I had this in. Ben Romack have been releasing a 46% ABV single malt series called Contrasts. Their most recent release features what? So somebody's going to be very, very pleased that they smell this question coming along. A, unmalted barley. B, a rarely used strain of barley. Or C, cask strength Ben Romack. Somebody literally just mentioned that when they were talking about the natural colour age statement not being applied. Sorry, the natural colour statement not being applied. Trying to remember who it was, but it was quite uncanny. It was Penny in the Slot. So Penny in the Slot helped us. And just to help everyone out, Penny in the Slot said, I was surprised to see that Benromic's Caragold didn't have a natural colour statement. Asked them about it, and they said it was natural, but made the choice to leave it off the label. So what is Caragold? What would you say, Jeff?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Both for B. Fantastic. A rarely used strain of barley. Absolutely. I believe Caragold to be a commonly used barley for malting, but mostly for beers and pale ales, and not so often used for whiskey. But absolutely, they brought out contrasts Caragold malt that had partially, not fully Caragold malt, but that was the most recent release. Question 2. Which of these curios has just been released to celebrate 20 years of whiskey fun? A whiskey-scented beard oil. B, a 1997 18-year-old Kleinlich. Or C, a Serge Incognito face mask. Whiskey Fun is celebrating 20 years of sharing whiskey wisdom and scores with us. Still going strong, Serge Valentin. Supported with Angus now, too, for quite a wee while. You feel like you're comfortable? You feel like you know this one? I wonder if we should have background music for the pub, the quiz at the end. What do you think? Can you even hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a bit jazzy.
I might get sick of it quite quickly. It's on theme. If we go back to the background music woes of the original 2017 ABCD video, right? I mean, it wasn't.
Let's crank it up a bit.
Yeah. Let's leave it a wee bit lower than that.
The most chill vPub yet.
Right, hold your answers up. What do you think? B for an 18-year-old Kleinlich. Both of you are in agreement here. It has split the chat a wee bit. A lot of people think that it's actually a whiskey-scented beard oil, Serge being what he is, but there is a banana skin here. How could there be a 1997 18-year-old Kleinlich released in 2022? Well, it's from Adelphi, and it does actually exist. I haven't got to the bottom of why. Has it spent some time in some kind of different container? Has it been spent some time in bottles? What has caused it? But apparently it is a 1997 vintage 18-year-old Kleinlich. I need to turn the music down. I'm sorry, guys. Let's
enjoy that.
Okay. So if you answered B, like the boys did there, congratulations, 2 out of 2 for you so far. Fantastic. Gordon Fraser is saying 2 out of 2. Holy moly, good for you, Gordon. Question 3, in which of these distilleries would you find a worm tub condenser in use? This would normally be a tough one, but I did talk about it just a few vPubs ago. It was quite an interesting one. Was it A, Knockdo, B, Knockandu, C, Kingsbarns? Which of those 3 distilleries will you find a worm tub condenser still in use? Worm tubs are thought to give more body, a bit of a heavier spirit, much more traditional way. Diageo has long been heralded as the guardian of the worm tub. So many of their distilleries still employ worm tubs. And Verhouse famously have 4 out of 5 of their distilleries having a worm tub. Only Balblair is the exception there. What would you guess, guys?
Keeping a theme going.
No, I'm changing.
Oh, Knockdo or Knockandu. So I did try to help you there, but I talked about Diageo distilleries, Knockandu, and I talked about Inverhouse distilleries, Knockdo. Nick got it right with Knockdo. Interestingly, the question that brought this forward was the fact that they actually have, bizarrely, shell and tube condenser and worm tub on one of their stills. So they use both, but there is a worm tub in use, still in use up at Knockdo, who produce Anok whiskey. Question 4. Which of these is a genuine barley strain? A genuine barley strain. This music is not going to last another thing. Let's crank down a wee bit more.
You just drown me out with it.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
You didn't see it.
You
I
didn't
think
see
I
it.
got
You didn't see it. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that. Shut your eyes. Let me ask a question just for kicks in case you genuinely didn't see it. Sometimes it happens, they click on the mouse. Damn it, it's been a while. Which of these is a genuine barley strain? A, shuffle, B, deck, or C, poker? Tell us. Jeff and Nick, put us out of misery.
I've seen it, so I'm void.
I'm going to use my Sevi wildcard. It's the,
Yay! Good
Yeah.
for Semi. Good for
all of the
Semi.
above. All of the above.
All of the above. But you saw it, didn't you? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Shuffle is a genuine barley strain, not just a genuine barley strain, but one that's also approved for use in Scotch whisky production as well. Damn. There you go. You're on 4 out of 4, Nick.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think I'd have got that one, honestly, without the
And
help.
Jeff's doing well on 3 out of 4 as well.
That's
It's
not
all
best.
strong. Shuffle the poker deck and all say 3, it says Sugar Kitty. I do apologise, I'd made a wee mess of that. Question 5 is always a picture question. Obvious one tonight. It's clearly a picture of a building. What are we looking at? Are we looking at A, Aberargie Distillery, B, Kings Barnes Distillery, or C, Ballindalloch Distillery? We're either in Speyside or we're in the Lowlands. What are we looking at? It's quite an attractive building and a very summery scene. I want to go and hang out in this kind of meadow here and just kind of look, maybe have a dram as a look at the quite attractive building. This building would not look out of place in the Cotswolds, actually.
It's taking a bit of a turn, this vPub, isn't it? You got the music playing, you're frolicking in fields. It's
I like to keep it fresh, Jeff. I like to keep it fresh. What are you going to go for? A for Aberargie, B for Kingsbarn, C for Ballindalloch. Go for B for
It's the
Kingsbarn.
only one
Both
I've been
of you.
to. It's the only one I've been to
It's the only one you've been to.
out of those 3.
What a gift. What a gift. Can also say it is indeed Kingsbarns. B is absolutely right. But if you were, I don't know if your screen resolution is good enough to see the word Barnes written just on the right-hand side of the screen there. So I'm trying to make up for Menno's brutality a couple of weeks ago. So if I'm right, Nick, you're on your pass mark already with a 5 out of 5.
Too happy.
And Nick's, Jeff is on 4 out of 5 already. Question 6. According to a recent Dramface podcast, what was described as a fart in a spent matchbox? Now you're both smiling. Have you both listened to the Dramface podcast? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Terrific stuff. Was it A, a note for a sherry cask release? B, a cheese and whiskey combo? C, dried whiskey residue left overnight in a Glencairn? One of those 3 was described as a fart in a spent matchbox. Actually, I think it was a rotten egg that had been farted on and then stored in a spent matchbox. But I'm being a pedant now. Jay Chung is in and he's saying that was a great one. Fantastic, Jay. Good to see you, my friend. And good to see that you're enjoying the Dramface podcast too. The podcast 4 has been available to Dramface members for a wee while now, but on Saturday morning, Dramface podcast is made public, so you'll get it on YouTube, plus all of the podcast services that you would normally listen to, as well as the Dramface website. It goes public. What would you say, guys? Jeff?
I hope I'm right. Oh dear. That one.
A and A. You both think it's a note for a sherry cask release. We don't need to talk about which whiskey it was. You can go along and listen to the podcast if you want to hear that. But absolutely, a fart in a spent matchbox was a note for a sherry cask release. Interestingly, a very highly celebrated and much loved. Just goes to show how varied the palates are for the whiskey folk out there. Lots of people really, really love that particular whiskey we were talking about. 6 out of 6 for Jerry Miller. So many people celebrating good scores tonight. Fantastic. Question 7. I think this is a crunchy one. This is the one that might foil a few people. After significant rebuilds in 1971 and 2013, all that remains of the original distillery is a warehouse and a pagoda. Which distillery is it? A, Lagavulin, B, Linkwood, C. Longmorn. You talk about the expansions that's happened, the modifications that's happened in distilleries in recent times. This goes back as far as 1971 too. And so much so that all that remains is the original pagoda roof, which is there probably just as an aesthetic, kind of ceremony, a tribute, and a warehouse. A. Lagavulin, B. Linkwood, C. Longmorn. Give us your guesses, if you know this, or tell us. What do you think, Jeff?
I've gone for B just because I have no clue. I wouldn't say Lagavulin, but that seems too obvious.
I think it's definitely not A, but I'm guessing now 50-50 on the other two. But
it's a good way to go around it. Get rid of the one that you don't think is there. Lagavulin makes it a 50-50. It evens up the scores because it is, in fact, Linkwood. The only thing that's left of the original Linkwood distillery is a few walls here and there, a warehouse, and the pagoda roof above the original kiln. But that puts you guys level. You're not getting your 10 out of 10 tonight, Nick. I do apologise, but you're still both over the pass mark line, no problems. Question 8. Bit of an asshat already. I'm going to try to pronounce this as best as I can. Badnahashleich is a sourced whiskey from Badachro Distillery. It's a Scottish gin distillery. But what does it mean? This is an asshat. Badnahashleich. Does it mean armpit or curved timber? Does it mean ankle or broken glass? Or does it mean elbow or flat tire? I'm channeling the Menno here. Really. Does Badnahashleich mean A, armpit or curved timber, B, ankle or broken glass, or C, elbow or flat tire? Now, this is sourced whiskey. I guess the only chance you would have of knowing this is if you'd come across the whiskey and done a wee bit of digging. It is a bit of an asshat. I do apologise. Even the chimpanzees have a 33% chance of scoring it, so... Give me your guesses, Jeff.
Sorry, this is not working out very well. I've gone for A.
Armpit or curved timber? Nick?
Yeah, based on the curved timber. It's the only...
I based mine on you can have a bad armpit.
Badnahashleich. Yeah. You're right. You're both right. Well done. Dodge the asshat. It is indeed a sourced whiskey. I don't know much more about it. The one I picked up in a Good Spirits Company today was a portcast release. They do have other releases out there. I'd seen the name here and there. I didn't understand what it was, but I spent a bit of time looking into it today. And it's a gin distillery that's sourcing whiskey, hopefully with a view to potentially making their own one day. You never know. Question 9. What was the name of the Connecticut Whisky Club formed from within the channel and displayed at the beginning of tonight's vPub? Oh, confidence. I see the nod from Nick there. Feels like he's got this. So this is an asshat. I did talk about Robert's Club. I read out the letter. I showed you the t-shirt. What was the name of that club? A, the Chasing Malt Whisky Club. B, the Chill Filtered Whisky Club. Or C, the Cask Strength Whisky Club. Whiskey with Molly saying, I feel like I've been stood in a lift in America for the last 10 minutes with this music. Okay, I thought that's it. That's enough for me to kill it. Let's get it off. Stop. I had turned it down so low that I wasn't hearing it so much at my side. There we go. I thought I'd pay a wee bit of tribute to the original really annoying loud music from the original 2017 video. Here we go. What do you think, Nick? Chasing Malt, confidence, and both of you confident. You were paying attention. Yeah. It was indeed the Chasing Malt Whisky Club. What's the scores as we go into the last question, guys? You're doing well.
8? No, we dropped 1 each, I think.
I have no clue. I didn't think I'll get this far, to be honest.
Incredible.
Yeah, we dropped 1 each. That's it.
I think you've only dropped 1 each. Is this your best performance, Jeff? And you're doing it live?
By far. Like, this is triple my best score. I'll pay you later.
Not at all. I did want to make it a wee bit easier than Menno's a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't want to make it a breeze. You're just doing well tonight. Listen, it's the last one, and it is a bit of an asshat question. So here goes, and there is a potential that people could dig up the answer quite quickly. So I'm going to go fast with this one. Of the closed distilleries listed in the 2022 Malt Whisky Yearbook, how many are from the lowlands? A, less than a quarter. B, about a third. C, exactly half. There are a list of, not all, it's not exhaustive, but the most famous, I guess, or the most well-known closed distilleries in the Malt Whisky Yearbook. It's shrinking, that list, not because he's running out of space or anything, but because one or two of them are being revived. But as it stands today in the 2022 Malt Whisky Yearbook, how many are from the lowlands? A, less than a quarter. B, about a third. C, exactly half. Give me your answers, please. I don't mean to rush you guys, but it's just, you think about a third, Jeff. B,
I'll go with
O.
Jeff. Yeah,
You
let's go.
both think about a third.
We go down together.
Yeah.
9 out of 10, boys.
Ooh.
Oh, well done. Well done. About a third. 8 out of 26 closed distilleries are actually from the lowlands. The lowlands were very much decimated. Let's see who scored a 10. There's got to be 10 out of 10s. Whiskey with Molly's on a 9 out of 10 and very happy. Chuck Malt Minion, 9 out of 10 as well. Daniel Williams, 9 out of 10. Jay Chung, 8 out of 10, celebrating. Too Slow, 9 out of 10. Gordon Fraser, 8 out of 10, fantastic. Prestige League wins. Andrew, 7. Owen G on 8. Pete Head on 8. Peter Box on 8. Raoul, I'm looking for the 10. Wow. Raoul G on 9. Steve Atkins on 9. No 10s. Oh, wow. Sugar Kitty, yes. 10 out of 10. I'm playing the lottery now. Fantastic, Sugar Kitty. Celebrations all round. There is somebody in with a 10 out of 10. There must be somebody else tonight. There absolutely must be. Fantastic. And Ian Bowes is celebrating, saying, not bad, seeing as I only knew 4 for definite. See, that's the beauty of it being multiple choice. And it helps when I give away one as well, I'm sure. I'm sure you're both grateful of that. Fantastic. Yep. How much weight, before you close out, how much weight would you put on natural presentation? How much weight would you put on the A, B, C, D, E, and Fs of whiskey, Nick?
I think it's always a great guide, but you know, we've got lots of examples of things that are not A, B, C, D, and like Deanston, Virgin Oak, all those things that we talk about, that are still good whiskies. And I think we've got examples of ABCDs that are also whiskies you wouldn't buy again. So it's a great guide if you really, you know, if you have to take a chance without recommendation.
I think that's good. It's a good way to summarize it. It's not a guarantee of quality or you're going to enjoy it. It's a guide as to who it's intended for. Yeah. Did you find any value in it at all, Jeff? Have you used it? Have you leveraged it?
For me, it was a huge. So I probably saw your video maybe only a year back, and that was a big maybe a year and a half. It was a big stepping stone for me because it was kind of like it helped me review the whiskies more in depth of what I was buying. Age statement, that's never bothered me. I think because I'm a cheapskate, so I've always gone in for non-age statements, or, you know, I was going to say the younger the better, but that's a weird phrase to say online. The color, I think, is one of the biggest things because I like the idea of it is a reflection of how it works, and I love the experience of a bottle. But I do like Dalmore, so I should just probably leave now.
Oh, yeah, wow, yeah. So you're willing to make significant submissions there. You're willing to yeah. I would say you're also a fan of Cotswolds, though, right?
Yes, love the stuff.
So 2015, 2016, 2017 vintage, some of them, you know, 4 or 5 years old, fabulous whiskey. I mean, honestly, stands up to a 10-year-old whiskey regularly in a blind tasting. Doing a great job. And the great thing about Cotswolds is I actually picked it up when I was on holiday with South Wales with my brother. We're faced with a big selection there in the shelves. Cotswolds was on offer at £30, nothing to discuss. We buy it, we take it home. And my brother's saying, you're buying an English whiskey? Wait till you taste it, my friend. Wait till you taste it. It's great. I think that you're right to not care too much about age today when there's more information available on your phone from your fellow whiskey drinkers, whatever it may be. But I think you're right to get frustrated, or I think we're all right to get frustrated when things are added that don't need to be added. Do you think you would enjoy that Dalmore just as much if it didn't have that colour, though, Jeff, honestly?
Oh, I would enjoy it a lot more. Not that I can taste it, but it's nice to have the full experience of that
I
bottle.
think you will be surprised as you go along in your journey. Not all colour that's been added all the time, but when it's been added excessively, I think you can taste it. You develop a way to taste colour in whiskey. I think you do when it's used excessively in extreme circumstances. Ben is saying, great time tonight. Kilkerran samples going out to a new acquaintance made tonight in the vPub. Fantastic sharing, Ben. Well done to you. Superb stuff. I hope that they enjoy it as much as we inevitably will over the course of the bottle. Guys, thank you so much for giving up your time, hanging out with me. Maybe you would be hanging out here in the lounge tonight anyway, but it's nice for you to step behind the bar and play a wee challenge here. Thanks for your bravery. Thanks for your confidence. Congratulations on the success. Aye, better luck next time, Nick, is it a Speyside?
Well, you were fair on the quiz. You can come again. So next time you're on the quiz.
Fantastic. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Nick, thanks very much. Jeff, good luck with the channel, my friend. Keep it growing.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Good night, guys.
Cheers for everything you do, Roy.
Cheers, Roy.
You're welcome. Hang out after the credits roll if you like. You're welcome to. Terrific stuff. I am up early tomorrow. I was supposed to be finished way before. I just don't know how to manage time. Helen is saying, odd not to have a dram during a vPub. Hopefully back to normal for next week. Thanks for another grand vPub, Roy. Helen, thank you so much for hanging out despite not feeling too great and not being able to dram along. It's wonderful to have had you. Terrific stuff. Whiskey with Molly is always already picked that one up about sharing the whiskies. Wonderful stuff. Listen, I hope that you got something out of the point I was trying to make tonight. Back when I was enjoying whiskey in 2017, I had a fairly fixed idea about how I viewed the whiskey landscape. I think it pays us all a dividend to be fluid and to stay open-minded. It is changing. The whiskey landscape is changing. And I think with the one exception of price, which is going to be a huge thing for us to all battle in the coming years, it is a first world problem, honestly, because there's lots of other good value things around. But that aside, we're moving in a very positive direction. It's odd that price is climbing the way it is when we've never had as much choice as we do today. But you know what? One of the choices that we have is not to pay that price. And I hope that we can continue to find things together as a community so that we don't have to. Anyway, I've enjoyed hanging out with you again tonight. I will be back with you next week. I hope to be with a guest next week. I hope to be welcoming Graham Cool from Dingle Distillery, from Grants and from Glenmurray, joining us next week to talk about batch variation in whiskey. Until then, I'm going to raise this glass and say to you all, this is the Glentauchers I've got in the glass, by the way, say to you all that you're very dearly loved, and I look forward to hanging out with you next week. And until then, thanks for enduring the music and the quiz at the end, and thanks for all your time tonight. Slanchava. Cheers, whiskey folk.